أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على سيدنا شفيعنا حبيبنا مرشدنا محمد نبي الأمي وعلى أهله وصحبه وأهل بيته وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا شفيعنا حبيبنا مرشدنا محمد نبي الأمي وعلى أهله وصحبه وأهل بيته وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا شفيعنا حبيبنا مرشدنا محمد نبي الأمي وعلى أهله وصحبه وأهل بيته وبارك وسلم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم من كنتم مولا من كنتم مولا من كنتم مولا فهذا علي مولا من كنتم مولا. Brothers and sisters in Islam, today we're going to cover a topic which is one of the most toughest topics I have ever dealt with, and you'll understand towards the end of it why I say so. It's one of the most controversial topics, and also the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is still bleeding because of what has happened, and it is a mercy of the kutubs of the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that I am able to put this presentation together. This brother knows nothing. I am a jahil, I can tell you right away before I start this presentation, because if it's not the mercy of the kutubs of the Ahlul Bayt, I won't be able to put even one sentence for this presentation. So, brothers, it's an honest effort to talk about and to expose the listener to a certain realm or dimension of history, of spirituality, which is not available very easily in today's world. And there is a hadith of Huzur sallallahu alaihi wasallam which says that towards the end of times, true knowledge will be lifted away. And that is what the time we are going through right now. It is a mercy that Allah sends His kutubs. The final kutub, the 11th kutub who has come recently is Kutub Baba Muhyiddin. And through the infinite rahmah, he has revived the true Islam which came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahabas. Again, the why I put this slide here is, and it's a long presentation, and I know I'm really sorry. I got a lot of positive feedback for the presentations which I've done, the bayans which was done earlier. One of the requests actually from sisters and brothers is, can you make it short? And unfortunately, these topics are so vast and they're so deep, and I'm not able to. I tried about segmenting it, and it's just impossible for me to do it, because when I sit for recording these things or working on these slides, it's a lot of the spiritual meditation, and the flow just happens. So for me to come back to it is very difficult, and I would suggest even this one is going to be, I don't know how long it's going to take for me to complete it. It's around 60 slides. But, at the end of it, you'll realize the wealth that is being given here. So quickly, this is a disclaimer I put all the time. This level, again, this knowledge is level at the level of marifat. So definitely you will not find this ilm at the Shariat level. And again, this is for brothers and sisters who are new to this particular ilm of Kutubiyat, to take some time and not jump to conclusion, and then analyze what is being said here. it takes time, for one to proceed from Shariat to Tariqat to Haqiqat to Marifat into Sufiyat. And again, if there is any mistakes in this presentation, it is from this brother who is a jahil, and forgive me for that, and please make dua. Now, what is being discussed here is the spiritual aspect of Maula Ali. When we look at the Islam of today, one of the things which most of the listeners will agree is there is very little information about Maula Ali. If you look at the Sunni masajid especially, they don't even talk about Maula Ali much. There may be some masajids which are connected to the Sayyids. They definitely will have more talks about Maula Ali, Maula Hassan, Maula Hussein. But the normal, so-called Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they just talk about some hadith and Quran, and it's very mundane. So, here we are going to analyze the spiritual aspect of Maula Ali. First, the form that came into the world, with which the five senses, the hearing, seeing, the touching, the feeling, and the smell, the nose. That is the five senses which are the inputs to the brain. And whether you are any human being or animal, based on your level of your feeling and awareness and intellect, you try to comprehend what's happening around you. So one is the form of Maula Ali that people saw, and the other one is the formless state of Maula Ali, which is the spiritual state. And the reason why we want to analyze this so deeply is because I want to tell you ahead of time, this presentation is talking about ilm, which is really, not there. It is covered under veils and veils of ignorance of people who don't know how to handle it. And it is only the kutubs of Allah who come into the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam who have revived it. So if I'm able to say anything, it is because of the mercy of Qutb Baba Muhyiddin radiyallahu anhu. And Ya Allah. The formless state, it takes you from Fanafi Sheikh. A Sheikh is just one of the normal Sheikhs. There are different darjas in Islam. It's like a Muslim can be, then you go to Salihin, Siddiqeen, Ashiqeen, Arifin. You become a Sheikh. Then there is, Abdals, then Naqib, and then Qutub. Baba Muhyiddin is the Qutub. So, you go into Fanafi Sheikh, you go into Fanafi Qutub, then you go into Fanafi Rasul, and then you go to Fanafi Allah. These are different spiritual states that one have to go through. And to reach Maula Ali is one of the most difficult journeys that a Salik has to take, a seeker has to take, because he is hidden under so many veils. And why, you will understand it once you go through this presentation. So brothers and sisters, have patience. It's going to be a long one, but try to listen to it in stages. And inshallah, let's go to the next slide. This is the miraculous birth of Maula Ali. Again, Maula Ali in the formless state, connected to the Noor of Allah, which is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the form, he was born into the household of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was born to the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is Abu Talib radiyallahu anhu. Abu Talib radiyallahu anhu, I always call him radiyallahu anhu. There are a lot of Muslims of today who say he died without accepting Shahada. Brothers and sisters, I have a lot to say, but the love that he had for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was so much, so deep, that he, during his last moment of his death, he said this kalima silently. He didn't want the Quraysh of Makkah, the Mushrikeen of Makkah who were standing around him, the leaders of the Quraysh standing around his deathbed to even hear the kalima, and because of that start hurting and torturing Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his followers. The love he had for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has no bounds. So he was okay to be misunderstood for the rest of the legacy of this world, that he did not recite the kalima in Auzubillah. Only Allah knows the secret, and the Kutubs revealed it. I call him radiallahu anhu, the blessed father who took the position of his father, of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's father, once he became an orphan. And the son of Abu Talib is Maula Ali, and hence is the cousin of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abu Talib radiallahu anhu's wife, Fatima bint Asad, a beautiful mother, and she was pregnant with Maula Ali, and for normal time for pregnancy is 9 months and 10 days, and she stayed in the house. She never left the house. She was the woman stick to the house, and they observe the parda and everything. But here something strange happens. 3 days before it's the due date of Maula Ali's birth, Fatima bint Asad, she walks down. Her house was exactly opposite to the Kaaba, so she walks down from the house of Abu Talib radiallahu anhu, and she goes exactly on the opposite side, diagonally opposite to the door of the Kaaba, the present door Kaaba. So if you look at standing at the present door Kaaba, and towards the left of it is Hajar Aswad, and if you go right in the opposite direction, that is opposite to the Tawaf, that is you will go first, you reach the Yemeni corner, and then you keep going another left again in towards the left, in a clockwise direction. That at that corner, or the second corner, which is diagonally opposite to the door of the Kaaba, is where Fatima bint Asad stood. Here, think about it. Mother is pregnant, due date is in 3 days, and people are expecting, the midwives and everybody must be ready for delivering the baby. And Fatima bint Asad, nobody has a clue. She walks down the door, and there it's a wall. There's a wall there. Suddenly the wall splits open, and she's taken inside the Kaaba. For 3 days, she's inside the Kaaba. And as soon as she goes inside, the door is again, patched, angels patch it. Now, people see this, that she disappears inside the Kaaba, and they do see a crack also that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his infinite mercy, he left a crack there. So they know that this place here, it cracked and it's cemented back. And people saw, so they panicked, they started, running to Abu Talib radiallahu anhu and said, your wife is inside, the Kaaba. And so normal instance, if you are the husband of a pregnant, wife, you're going to panic too. What's going on here? How is she going to deliver the baby? What happens? She's there stuck inside the Kaaba. But the exact opposite, reaction comes from Abu Talib radiallahu anhu. He does not panic. He's sitting quiet there and very calm. The people of Makkah panicked. Now they start going towards the door. They're trying to open the door. They're slamming the door. Do what you want. Nothing happens. And once all the drama was over with the people around, Abu Talib radiallahu anhu tells the people to just disperse off and leave it. He said, they had so much of faith. Abu Muttalib radiallahu anhu, even when the Kaaba was attacked, by a tribe from Yemen, the king from Yemen, and we all know that, the king asked him, how are you going to, he told the people of Mecca to vacate the place and go away, and they all left because he's the leader. And the next day the king comes, and he asks, that he has come now, he wants to destroy the Kaaba, and he wants to build one in Yemen, where he is coming from, because he thinks it's the Kaaba which is making the Makkah as the business hub. So if he shifts the Kaaba, the business hub will shift to his place. So, and the next day, when Abu Muttalib radiallahu anhu goes to meet the king, he was expecting that, the king was expecting that Abu Muttalib radiallahu anhu is going to plead to let them go, to don't destroy the Kaaba or anything. And he said, well, I come back for my camels. And the king was shocked. He said, here's the leader of the Quraysh tribe, the leader of Makkah. He's worried about his camel and not worried about the Kaaba. And at that time, Abu Talib radiallahu anhu, he said, the Lord of the Kaaba will take care of his house. So similar situation, Abu Talib radiallahu anhu knew very well. He's the son of Abu Muttalib radiallahu anhu, that she has gone inside the Kaaba. It is more safer and than any of the places around the world. So his iman was strong. And third day, Fatima bint Asad comes out with the baby. There is a riwayah that she delivered the baby, and who was the baby? Maula Ali. She was helped by Maryam, Hajara, and Awwa. All three mothers, blessed mothers, helped her in the delivery. And that's what Fatima bint Asad said. This is one of the riwayah. Now, and you have to, again, this is at the level of Marafa. So people will say, oh, these mothers died and went, So, but brothers, sisters, again, this is not at Shariat level. Now, the question that we have to ask is, well, there are so many places around the world, right? Maula Ali could have been born any other place. Why should he be born inside the Kaaba? And in fact, once the baby was born, the door of the Kaaba opened up and she walked out. So, people go for Hajj and Umrah nowadays. And I think about it that, if somebody of our mothers or sisters or daughters have their monthly cycles, they cannot go inside the precincts of the Kaaba. Now here's, Fatima bint Asad going inside the Kaaba for delivering a child. There is definitely postnatal bleeding and even during the birth, right? And what happens to the sanctity of the Kaaba? So the point I'm trying to make here is there is something which happened which is beyond the level of Sharia, which normally it is not even, at the level of Sharia, as we said, women, who are not clean, they cannot even enter the Kaaba. And here's a mother delivering a baby inside the Kaaba. Okay, we are talking about the precincts of the Kaaba, and here Maula Ali was born inside the Kaaba. Okay, and the question that we have here is, that we are putting here is, could Maula Ali be born anywhere else? And I don't want to answer the question here. Let's go through this entire presentation, and then you yourself will understand that, well, he couldn't have been born anywhere else other than inside the Kaaba. Here's the blessed baby. Let's keep going. Here's the blessed baby, born, with so much of noor on his face, but he's not opening his eyes. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was away. He was not in the town at that time. And he comes home to Abu Talib radiallahu anhu, very happy, to household of Abu Talib radiallahu anhu, very happy to see his cousin. And Abu Talib radiallahu anhu is sitting there dejected. at the doorsteps. He said, what happened? He said, well, I'm happy he's the son, but the son is blind. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam smiles, and says, give the baby to me. And he has not drank any mother's milk also. He's not, drinking anything. He's just, sitting there, lying there, So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam smiles and takes the baby in his hand. The moment Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam touches the baby's eyes open. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam takes his blessed tongue and connects it to the mouth of the infant Maula Ali, and he starts sucking the tongue of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And this is the deep connection, of Maula Ali with Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, with the infant who was just born, and from a Sharia level, where the Nabuwat of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has not been declared so far. Okay, so the infant child knows, that he has come into this world for a purpose, right? And he's not opened his eyes till Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam came in front of him. And the second thing is, he has not drank his mother's milk till the saliva of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam touches his lips. Once he starts sucking the saliva of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, then he's opened his eyes. He is ready to feed from his mother's milk. So my question to the viewers at this point is, well, the baby knows much more than that, because what we have been taught at the Sharia level is, well, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he was an ordinary human being, doing, he was an orphan, then, he did business, and, and he went to, he got married at the age of 25, and the Nabuwat was proclaimed when he was 40 years old. But what is happening here? Why is the baby behaving strangely here? Okay, food for thought. And the people who follow the path of the Kutubiyat, of tariqat, of whether it is Qadriya tariqat or Chistiya tariqat, coming from Maula Ali, the tariqat of Naqshbandi comes from Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, and the tariqat of Chistiya, Qadriya, Sorwardi, Shadiliya, all this comes from Maula Ali. And they know what the secret is, but again, I'm just putting this across. All right. Now let's go into the reality of Maula Ali. So I read a lot of books across the so-called Sunni world or the Shia world. For me, I don't believe in these things with the Shia Sunni and all that, and you'll understand toward the end of the presentation why I say that. And there is only one reality, and that's what we are talking about here. So the conclusion that a lot of learned philosophers of Islam have come is that you look at Maula Ali as a full philosophy, as a universal truth, because the personality is so deep that it is impossible for you to comprehend Maula Ali as a human form. And you'll understand towards the end of this presentation why we're saying so. But I just put it out here so that people understand where we are going, and putting the stage, setting the stage for this presentation. So Maula Ali as a philosophy is what's discussed here. So try not to look at him as an individual, but greater than that, the form and then beyond the form, the formless and the ultimate truth. Let's briefly touch on why this presentation is important in today's world that we live in. The controversy that plagues the Ummah even today. You look around, there's so much of killing, there's so much of suffering, so much of disunity among the Muslims. Everybody's saying, I have the truth, and they're fighting with each other. And Huzur Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has prophesied this thing. He said this ummah will get divided into 73 sects, right? And we will discuss that, why it got divided, and that is where the Maula Ali's personality comes center stage, of this 73 sects and why it happened. it's a curse, that the Muslims have bestowed on themselves. Now, how do I get out from there? Because you know what, maybe I was not born during the time of the Sahabas, and I'm not responsible for what happened at that time. There are a lot of painful events happened, but then how do I, as an individual, at this time, come out of this suffering, right? And that comes through wisdom. So the question is, how do I get to the right side? The right side, and or to the straight path. Yahdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. You say that in every time you recite Surah Fatiha. Yahdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. Ya Allah, guide me to the straight path. So that at the end of my earthly journey, when my soul is ready to leave this body, the soul has attained the final liberation. And this is one of the beautiful quote which one of the enlightened beings whom I talk to every now and then, who shared me this thing, and I wanted to put it there. He said, the liberation of your soul, the quest for the liberation of your soul is the best gift that you can give to your fellow human beings. And when I heard it, I just couldn't understand what this enlightened soul told me. And I said, can you just elaborate on it? And he said, well, you know what, we human beings have so much of evil within us. When we go to workplace, we have family, we have social connections, community and all that. It's the evil that that disturbs the world around you. Once you get into the path of the liberation of your soul, then the amount of evil that you disperse around you, it decreases, and you go into the inward journey, and the people around you are mahfuz, or are protected from your own evil within your own self, because of the journey that you have undertaken. So he said in a beautiful way, he said, if you start the journey of the liberation of your own soul, that is the best gift that you can give your fellow human beings and the animals, the beautiful animals around, in this earth, who are living life with you. And there's a hadith of Rasulullah, I just want to put it in here. It says, the world and everything in it is cursed except for the zikr of Allah. So again, I have to see, how do I contribute to the world around me? Okay. We're going to discuss two hadiths here. The first one is Ana Madinatul Ilm wa Ali Babuha Faman Arada Ilm Fal Yatil Bab. What does that mean? That I am the city of knowledge and Ali is the gate, and whoever desires the knowledge, let him enter through that gate. There are two aspects of this thing. One is the spiritual aspect, and then one is the form aspect of it. We'll discuss that in the future slides. And the second hadith I want to put here is what Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam talked about Maula Ali, that Anta minni wa ana minka, that Ya Ali, you are from me and I am from you. And again, you can look at this from a spiritual and a form perspective. For spiritual, you see Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as Nur Muhammad, Nur of Allah, Nur Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and you are from that Nur and I am from that Nur. You can look at that way. From the physical, or from the connection to the body, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam belongs to the same household as Maula Ali, and Maula Ali belongs to the same household of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Okay, so there are two meanings to that. Now, on the first one, Ana Madinatul Ilm wa Ali Babua Faman Arada Ilm Falyatil Bab. On this particular one, Maula Ali, when he in his lifetime, he went through a lot of trials and tribulations, he faced a lot. Out of all the Khulafa Rashidin, Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, Uthman al-Ghani radiallahu anhu, and Maula Ali being the fourth one, he became the Khalifa at the most difficult time. It was easy for Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu and Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu. Maula Ali's was the most difficult time, and you'll understand it when we go through it. And one of the people, definitely not the golden Sahabas, one of those people, Jahils around, he rebuked, Maula Ali, saying that, well, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Jibril alayhi salatu wasalam came so many times and met Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and because he knew about this hadith, ana madinatul ilm wa Ali babuha, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I am the city of knowledge and Ali is the gate. He rebuked, and he wanted to taunt Maula Ali and said, how many times has Jibril alayhi salatu wasalam visited you? And Maula Ali, with the wisdom he had, he said, well, it is twice the amount of time that Jibril alayhi salatu wasalam came to meet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this person was definitely amazed by the answer, And he said, I don't understand. He said, well, if you are going to enter a city or a room and there is only one door, when you enter, you will see that person. When he leaves, you'll see the person. So whenever Jibril ﷺ entered the city of ilm to meet Rasulullah ﷺ, I was the door. And when Jibril ﷺ left, I was the door. So I met him twice. Let's go on. We're going to quickly jump into, what the Kutubs of Allah said about Maula Ali. And I was under I was under a dilemma here, whether to go for the form part before or the formless part before. And I think this is the right way. And I'm going to discuss the formless part of Maula Ali, the spiritual part, the soul of Maula Ali first. Okay, and this is the part which is rarely known in today's world. You can look around, any books, you will not find it. And again, this is the mercy of the Kutubs of Allah that this has been revealed. So let's go through it. I think we all know about this particular zikr, La ilaha illallah Adam Safiullah, La ilaha illallah Nu Najiullah, La ilaha illallah Ibrahim Khalilullah, La ilaha illallah Musa Kalimullah, La ilaha illallah Isa Ruhullah, and finally La ilaha illallah Muhammad Mustafa Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Kutubs of Allah always recited La ilaha illallah Ali Waliullah. The darja of wilayat, of the qurb, because after the nabuwat, the final seal of prophets, Khatam al-Nabi, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has come, there is no more door for nabuwat, there's no more door for prophethood. Then the wilayat started after that. And the darja of wilayat, the wisdom, came through Maula Ali in the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So just adding that, the La ilaha illallah Ali Waliullah is also recited. Again, the reason why I'm saying this thing is because, forgive me, when I have to say Shia brothers and Sunni brothers, I don't even consider the Shia Sunni. This is all the fitna of shaitan. So again, because I have to, this presentation may be watched by my fellow beloved Shia brothers and beloved Sunni brothers. So I have to say this, okay? In the Shia brothers, they always say, Ali Waliullah and Auladun Ali Hujjatullah, right? And Masumin wa Hujjatullah. And they add this thing in their azan. And I will talk about this thing. It's a beautiful journey that Allah has taken me through, and I wish that you also follow that. If you have done it, alhamdulillah, it's really great. So what I'm saying here is that it is not just the Shia world that says Ali Waliullah. Even the Kutubs of the Sunni world, they also say La ilaha illallah Ali Waliullah. And the Shia brothers add to it saying that Auladun Ali Hujjatullah, which is the sign of Allah, and Masumin wa Hujjatullah, means they are infallible, they are pure, and Hujjatullah, and they add it to their azan. Okay. Now, we're going to quickly go through, as we said, we're going to discuss the formless part of Maula Ali, which is his soul. So, we're going to go through some few anecdotes or incidents that happened. So let's start, and these all of them have a relation to Jibril alayhi salatu wasalam, because he's the angel who has the job of bringing the wahi and to all the prophets. So definitely he's always connected to revelation and what's happening as far as hidayat for the mankind is concerned. So Jibril alayhi salatu wasalam, as from the time of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, his job is to bring wahi from Allah. So one day, during the time, of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was in human form, Jibril sallallahu alaihi wasallam is doing his job, going to, to Sidratul Muntaha, and there is Lohe Mahfuz there, and there's a Quran there, and he gets the wahi, the ayat, which has to be revealed, and then he comes down and gives it to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's been happening for a long time, and he Jibril sallallahu alaihi wasallam watches that the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's what do you call publicity, he's getting more known, and and I am bringing this wahi up and down, and nobody knows about me, I'm doing my job, but there's no credit, right? And it's just a thought which passes, the pure Jibril sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And he comes down with that thought to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and gives salam to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he's brought a wahi at that time. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, again, I've gone through this in so many other presentations of Fanafe Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Nur Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I don't want to keep bringing up this. There are a lot of brothers who say he did not have knowledge about ilm al-ghaib, but this has been discussed before. So let's go on in a more mature way. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he has, I'm going to say this, because he has knowledge of ilm al-ghaib and everything in the universe, right? Okay. Because if you have a question for that, you should go and listen to Fanafe Rasul in the same channel, or you should research Nur Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You'll get answers there. So I'm going to say here that because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had ilm al-ghaib, and the knowledge of everything in the universe was bestowed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because now Jibril sallallahu alaihi wasallam has come with the wahi, but he's got this doubt, I'm bringing all this stuff, and somebody else is getting more credit than me. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is there. Jibril sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes in front of him and says salam, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam looks at him and says, it does not return the salam. He said, I don't know you. And Jibril sallallahu alaihi wasallam is completely perplexed. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I am Jibril. He said, well, I don't know you. And he said, go back to Allah and ask him, tell him that this is what I told you, that Rasulullah has said that to Jibril sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that I don't know you, I don't recognize you. So Jibril sallallahu alaihi wasallam goes back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and said, Ya Allah, I went to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he refused to identify me. He said, I don't know me, he doesn't know me, and he in fact told me to convey this to you. And Allah, in His infinite mercy, tells Jibril sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said that, well, my Habib has said the right thing. And now he's more perplexed. He said, Ya Allah, because he knows now something has gone wrong here, right? So he says, Ya Allah, ask for forgiveness, and said, please, have mercy on me. So he said, do me a favor, what do you do when you get, when it's time for you to bring a wahi down to the earth, to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Well, he said, I go to the preserved tablet, at the Sidratul Muntaha. It is the utmost boundary of creation, and the lower mahfuz is there, the preserved tablet is there, and then the book is there, the Quran is there, and whatever ayat has to be revealed, it is shown to me, and then a voice behind recites it, and then I listen to it, and then bring it back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, okay, go there again and go and listen to that ayat again, but this time I'm going to give you the power to see the form behind who is reciting this ayat for you. Jibril sallallahu alaihi wasallam goes there, and he is shocked beyond belief when he sees the form which is speaking and giving the ayat to Jibril sallallahu alaihi wasallam was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. And Jibreel salatu wasalam now recognizes that, you know, it is just that, you know, he is being, you know, he's just a postman carrying this message from here to there, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the source of the recitation for him. He brings it down to the same Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the body form. And why this happens before? Because, brothers and sisters, you know, human beings, the earth, right? The earth is in the middle. There are 7 heavens above the earth. There are 7 hells below the earth, and dunya is in the center, you know. So this place is a unique place. The earth is a unique place because, you know, because of the karma of the people involved, you know, you'll find enlightened souls, you'll find the first sinners, everybody are together. You know, it's a big mix up and drama happening here. And because of that, you know, and this knowledge which has also been said here, you know, if a Sharia level guy who is at a very basic level and who doesn't have much exposure to spirituality, he listens to this presentation, you know, he's not going to accept it. And, you know, I'm not even putting this this presentation for them. I'm putting this for people who are going deeper into spirituality and who wants to proceed in their own spiritual path at a much deeper level, you know. So my point is that Jibreel salatu wasalam immediately recognizes his mistakes, and then he goes back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, tears of forgiveness. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam this time recognizes him, hugs him, accepts him. And from that time, you know, the beautiful, you know, humility of Jibreel salatu wasalam, right? That the moment he recognizes that, you know, who Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam actually is, that from the time, from the next time he brings the wahi and say Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is sleeping, he would kiss his feet to wake him up. Brothers and sisters, Jibreel salatu wasalam would kiss the feet of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam so that he would be woken up. And that is how much of love and respect and humility he had for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All right, so let's go to the next slide. And this is a beautiful one, you know, between Fatima radhiyallahu anha and Jibreel salatu wasalam. One day, Jibreel salatu wasalam comes, you know, and to meet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, was not at home. He had gone out, and he finds Fatima radhiyallahu anha in the house, and she is so happy. She says, you know, gives salams to Jibreel salatu wasalam, says, "Oh, welcome, oh younger brother of my father." You know, and this is what she called Jibreel salatu wasalam. And again, Jibreel salatu wasalam, you know, he's a little confused and he's a little hurt too, because he feels, well, you know, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born recently to Amina, and you know, I have seen this world for so many, you know, millions of years from the time of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam and before that. So how can, you know, Fatima say that welcome, O younger brother of my father? And he did not return the salam back. Immediately, Fatima radhiyallahu anha says, "Yeah, Jibreel, I gave you the salam with so much of love and respect. So if you don't return the salam, it's a burden on you, which Allah will ask you." And knowing the status of Fatima radhiyallahu anha, Jibreel salatu wasalam, you know, he gives the salam back, but, you know, he's not convinced with what Fatima called Jibreel salatu wasalam as the younger brother of my father. So she knew that. She said, you know what, let's wait for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to come and then we'll ask him. So few minutes later, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes and he sees the situation. You know, here's Jibreel salatu wasalam standing there, Fatima is there, and Fatima says, you know, I addressed Jibreel salatu wasalam as your younger brother, and Jibreel salatu wasalam is a little upset because of that. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam smiles at his beloved daughter and Jibreel salatu wasalam. Brother, these incidents are a mercy for us. You know, if these incidents wouldn't have happened, we would never know what's the reality. And he said, yeah, Jibreel, you know, I know you feel that you're much older than me. What has happened before you know, my presence, that you think that you're much older. He says, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when the whole universe, there was nothing there. I always, when Allah created me, I always used to see a star. I'm going to the next slide here. I always used to see a star which would appear for 70,000 years. And I would keep looking at this star. And then for the next 70,000 years, it would disappear. And then, so that's 70,000 plus 70,000. And this is heavenly years, brothers and sisters. This is not the earthly years, okay? So it's 140,000 years. And then Jibreel ﷺ says that I have seen this star come, means manifest, then not manifest. This is 140,000 years. He has seen this cycle happening 70,000 times. So you can imagine, if you look at the heavenly years, it's 140,000 multiplied by 70,000 years of heavenly years. Jibreel ﷺ said, well, I think I'm much older than you, because I've seen the star. So Rasulullah ﷺ smiles and says, yeah, Jibreel, you think if you see the star again, you will recognize it? He said, yes, absolutely. I've seen it so many times, right? So Rasulullah ﷺ removes his turban, and at the crown of his head said, look at the crown of my head. And when he looks there, he finds the same star. And Jibreel ﷺ is in tears now. And he says, yeah, Jibreel, look at it carefully. And when he looks at it, he says, he sees a turban on the star. He said, yeah, Jibreel, that turban is Maula Ali. And he gave the title saying that turban is Darsul Anbiya. Brothers and sisters, very important. I'm going to pause here. Darsul Anbiya, is where the Anbiyas get the wisdom from, the source of wisdom. Then he says, look at the ears, the earring on both sides of the star. So on the right side, there was a earring, on the left side there was a beautiful earring. And said that on the right is Maula Hassan, on the left is Maula Hussein, radiallahu anhu. And then he said, now look at the heart of the star. There's a necklace and there is a gem, the light, like a pendulum which is there in the center of the heart. He said, and that is the nur of my daughter Ummah Fatima. So as soon as Jibreel ﷺ understands that this form which has manifested in this created universe, in the dunya, so-called dunya, is a lower level of creation. From the higher levels beyond, the 7 levels of heaven, he falls prostrate. He cries, start crying, and he realizes his mistake. So, brothers and sisters, so this is the second one. So here we have a reference that Maula Ali is the turban on the star, right, which represents Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the beautiful part, why the star appears for 70,000 years and disappears for 70,000 years, is when it appears, that is when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has come out of sujud. The star has come out of sujud. When it goes into sujud, it disappears. Another riwayah says that when it appears, that is the time when the manifestation of the nur of Allah in the body form, in the created universe happens. And when it disappears, that same manifestation of the nur of Allah goes within Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It merges with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you don't see it. Okay. I hope I'm clear there. We go to the next slide. Now let's look at the 12-year-old boy, Maula Ali. It's in Mecca. He's playing around, like the 12-year-old boys play around. There are Sahaba sitting in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they're talking. Maula Ali, even though he's playing, he's listening to everything. And here something happens very strange. Shaitan's grandson, he comes limping to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and introduces himself. And he's limping because his two toes are tied together. When somebody dies, they tie the 2 toes together. Similarly, his 2 toes are tied together with a knot. And he says, Shaitan says, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, have mercy on me. I've been waiting for your manifestation coming into this physical universe for a long time, and I was told that this knot can be untied only with the help of your dua. So I said, what happened? Tell me what happened. So he says, well, me with my grandfather, which is Shaitan Iblis himself, we decided to go to the seventh heaven and to fight with the kutubs and the walis of Allah who are in the seventh heaven, who are doing the ibadat of Allah. And as soon as we reached that heaven, I saw this young boy who came on a horseback, and he looked at me with so much of gaze. The intensity of the gaze was so much that and he looked at my toes, that both the toes got tied with a knot. And from that day, my grandfather and everybody else have been trying to remove the knot, and they've not able to remove it. I've been limping for all these millions of years. I went to Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, I went to Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam, and every prophet who came after that. And they said, you know what, we can't help you. The seal of the prophet, who is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he comes, he can help you. And then they said that even when he comes, the boy who came on the white horse, only that boy can untie this, nobody else can do it. So, he's under so much of pain, so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam felt sorry for him. And he asked, Shaitan's grandson, he said, do you think you'll recognize him, when you see him? He says, oh yeah, absolutely. This fellow has made my life miserable for so many millions of years. Absolutely, I will not forget his face. So he says, he points the grandson of Shaitan to Maula Ali and says, look at, Ali, he's the same boy. And he was like completely taken aback, he like so afraid. He said, yeah, he's the same boy. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam requests Maula Ali, said, have mercy on this fellow, untie his knot. And Maula Ali smiles and looks at, at the toes of the Shaitan's grandson, and the knot is untied. And it is at the same time, it's the beauty of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? It is at the same time that all the jinns who were with the grandson of Shaitan, they accept Islam at that point from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All the kufr jinns accept Islam. The Sahabas were astonished looking at this thing, and because they heard the whole conversation and said, and now they're looking at the form and trying to relate to the formless, right? The form is only 12-year-old. So here, brother, what we are trying to say is, the Sahabas, they're sitting at the foot of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the holy feet of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and learning, from what they are seeing, and it's a lesson for us, that if you stick to the form that you have, the form is filled with desires and ego and all the negative qualities. You have to, and that is the nafs ammara. Nafs ammara is the nafs which is bent towards evil. Then you have nafs lawama, which is nafs which is trying to fight between evil and good, trying to go into the better spiritual state. And then the nafs mutmainna is the final state where the soul is at peace with itself. The mind has sat down and the soul is in the foreground. For a normal human being, the monkey mind is in the foreground, of this earthly life, and the soul is sitting in the background, and that's nafs ammara. So the point is that what we are trying to convey here is there are negative qualities within me, and there are negative qualities coming from outside, which is Shaitan. And the beautiful connection here, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that every human being has a jinn or a Satan with him, and mine, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's, accepted Islam. Now, what does that mean? That this knowledge that we are discussing here, right? A lot of people can hear up to this point and they say, what, this doesn't make sense, because maybe they are full of haste or whatever it is. I don't want to jump to conclusion, but my point is that the kutub say that this knowledge that is being dispersed right now here can only be understood once you are in the process of self-purification, and you definitely understand the problem. Say, Ya Allah, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I have bad qualities, and I am trying to remove the bad qualities, and I am taken up this journey of self purification. Only thus then this knowledge gets available to you, and maybe you can be able to comprehend it. If a person is in the state of arrogance, thinking I know everything, then because he's in that state, he will never be able to comprehend or understand what knowledge has been given here. Okay, so Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that when he says that that every human being has a jinn or a shaitan with him, and mine accepted Islam, he's talking about the negative qualities also within that person, that you have to go through that self purification process. And then the Satan next to you, which is the external one, what you manifest to the external world is your satanic quality, right? That subsides. Okay. Now, again, there's another incident that, we are going through about Jibreel Salatu Islam getting the elevated status of bringing wahi to the prophets and the messengers. So in the world of angels, millions of angels were gathered on one day, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala questioned the angels about the secret of the universe. And none of the angels could answer, because it was, the answer was not readily, you cannot think about it. Jibreel Salatu Wasalam was one of those angels sitting in the, standing in the crowd in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah questioned this thing like to everybody, And Jibreel Salatu Wasalam actually heard a voice behind him which prompted him the answer. And he listened to it, and he felt the answer made sense. So he said, Ya Allah, I have the answer, and he gave the answer to Allah. Based on that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya Jibril, I appoint you as the angel who's going to carry the wahi back and forth from the heavens to the mankind in the earth. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam once asked Jibril sallallahu alaihi wasallam that, Ya Jibril, if you see that, and he turned around, and saw a face there, at that time he said, if you see that face again, would you remember who it is? He said, yes, and then he pointed to the young Maula Ali, and Jibreel Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was astonished that that face which had prompted him the answer for one of the questions that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala asked Jibreel Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the world of the angels, Maula Ali was there behind him to prompt him the answer. The wisdom came from Maula Ali. So what we are trying to say here is that we are going beyond the form of Maula Ali. It is all the wisdom, which manifest. Even when the Quran is a revelation, comes to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Hadith comes to, which Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has proclaimed. There is a wisdom behind it. And that is what this Hadith that we refer to said, Ana Madinatul Ilm wa Ali Babuha. That and the city of ilm, the hadith and the Quran and all the unseen ghaib, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is a huge city of this knowledge, But to get to it, to understand it, you have to go through the door of Maula Ali, because only Maula Ali can disperse the wisdom. He can remove the darkness of ignorance and take you towards light. Okay. Otherwise, the revelation is there. If you don't understand it without wisdom, whether the revelation is there or no, it really doesn't make, any difference to a fellow human being. Okay. Now we go to a much more deeper concept. This is the beginningless beginning of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, before the creation happened. And, this is discussed very deeply in Resonance of Allah, the book of Baba Muhyiddin, Kutub Baba Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu. And, I want to bring it up here again so that people understand another dimension of Maula Ali here. And here, in the initial state before the creation manifested, Allah was in deep hamd of himself. He is within his own self in deep hamd. And you need to understand the concept of time, space, and matter. Time, space, and matter is not connected to Allah. Okay, because infinity does not contain time, infinity does not contain space, and infinity does not contain matter. Right? So when the creation happens, the first thing that manifests is time. And then when the time manifests, then the next thing that comes across automatically is space, empty space, it's vacuum. And then in that vacuum, the manifestation of matter happens. And it is the mercy of Allah that Einstein, a great scientist, he discovered the E equal to mc square formula, where we now understand the in today's world, in the world that we live in, that the energy equal to mass times c square, the velocity of light, the square of velocity of light, which is 3 into 10 raised to 8 meters per second. So when I look at my body, I can definitely say, okay, there is a body form here, with 9 openings in this body and 3 hidden openings, and it was also energy form, and that energy form can be positive or negative based on what is the wisdom that drives this energy form. Okay, so and walasar surah, and walasar innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilus solihati wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. That surah is swearing by the time of asr. Again, Allah is introducing the concept of time there, right? And swearing by the concept of time. So Annati is a time where nothing of this was there. There was no manifestation at all, right? Then comes the time when Allah, within His own self, He wished that this treasure of His be known. Then He's a hidden treasure and He wants to be known. And that is the time Baba Muhyiddin says is that from Annati it moves into Ati state. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala moves Himself from the Annati, and the wish comes inside him that I am a hidden treasure and I need to be known, what emerges from the heart of Allah, which Baba Muhyiddin says is the kumbam, which is the inner heart of Allah, is the noor of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that noor of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at that noor. Because when you look at something, even in today, right, when you're looking at something, you need to look at with analysis. You just don't look at blankly. So Allah looks at this noor, and that noor was in sajda, and it was doing the hamd of Allah, mashallah. Okay, and when he looked at it, and that is what is the qalb of Ahmad, which is the qalb of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the created universe, the human form, it is a qalb of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But in the Ati state, where the creation has not yet happened, it is the noor, the light form which came, the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the noor of Allah, which is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's noor, was in sajda, and it was doing the zikr of the hamd of Allah. Okay, and this noor split into 10 different parts. Okay, brothers and sisters, it's a little deep. It's spread different into 10 different parts, and Baba Muhyiddin talks about the 10 parts. Annati Muhammad, Ati Muhammad, Awal Muhammad, Ana Muhammad, Hayat Muhammad, Noor Muhammad, Ahmad Muhammad, and Allah Muhammad, and splits into the 9 parts which I just said. And there's a lot of wisdom behind it. I don't want to go there because otherwise this presentation will take 5 hours. Okay, so and then the 10th part becomes the kalam, which is the pen, and the kalam or the pen signifies wisdom. Okay, anytime you say read, write, ikra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, ikra, read what? It is something which is written, right? You can't read something which is not written. So the kalam starts writing the entire history of the creation at Lohe Mahfuz, at the preserved tablet. And once the entire history was written by the kalam, Allah Ta'ala looks at the kalam and says, Anta Muhyiddin, you are Muhyiddin. And that kalam, the manifestation of the noor which came from the heart of Allah, which split into 10 parts. The last one, the 9 ones that we talked about, the last one being the wisdom, which is the wisdom when it manifested in the created universe which we are in, it manifested as Maula Ali. And all the creation from the time of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, brothers and sisters, from the time of Adam Islam, any prophets who got revelation, who got books, whether it is Psalm or whether it is Zubur or it is the Old Testament or the New Testament, it came from the Noor of Maula Ali. Okay, the wisdom is, it's like, Maula Ali's department is wisdom, right? You could think of it that way. And that Noor, and that's why Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, if you remember a few slides before, when he asked Jibreel Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to look at the star, and he said the turban signifies honor and authority and dignity, and which is because of the wisdom and the knowledge bestowed by Allah. He said Darsul Anbiya, this is the turban which is put on the heads of the prophets, and that is Maula Ali. Okay, so in the formless world, Maula Ali represents pure wisdom. Okay, and that's what we're saying. And when you come into the awwal, I go back to the slide here, when you come into the awwal and the creation of time happened, then the space and the matter happened, and ahad, kul hu Allahu ahad, you say, Suratul Ikhlas, kul hu Allahu ahad. And brothers and sisters, as I said before, I want to do justice, to the people who are listening to this thing. So my humble request is, again, it's going to be a long one for sure. I know that long presentation, this one. So take time to listen to it. But I want to cover every topic here as much as possible. So let's go back to Surah Al-Ikhlas, and says, Kul hu Allahu ahad. You'll take any tafsir of today and you say, okay, let me go to the explanation of Kul hu Allahu ahad. Guess what happens? Say Allah is one. Brothers and sisters, that is the wrong explanation. If Allah wanted to say that I am one, he could say Kul hu Allahu wahid. Wahid means one. You all know that. Wahid, itneen, talata, arba, khamsa, the numbering system in Arabic. Kul hu Allahu wahid. Why he had to say Kul hu Allahu ahad? And you see this tafsirs, and this is the problem, right, brothers and sisters? As we said, unless you come to the feet of the kutub, this knowledge is not even available. You're sitting at Sharia, you're listening to some people who have written some tafsirs, and and they're giving you some explanation, and your heart will never be satisfied. If you are a seeker, your heart will not be satisfied with this explanation saying Allah is ahad and Allah is sitting on the arsh and I am sitting in the earth and I am praying to Allah. The moment I say Allah is sitting on the arsh, I am limiting himself to time, space and matter, brothers and sisters. And Allah is beyond all that, right? So how can I say Allah is sitting on the arsh? There is another, hadith which says Allah descends to the lowest heaven in the 1/3 of the night, and that is the time for tahajjud. If the moment you say Allah descends, right, you have to look from a Sharia point. Allah descends means you're making Allah descend now. What does that mean? You already put Allah into the form, and it doesn't happen like that. So descending where? To the first heaven. Where is the first heaven? The moment you say about these concepts, right, then you are putting Allah into a form. There is a beautiful explanation. One of these enlightened beings, he said that, somebody asked him, this enlightened soul, that do you believe in God? And and he said, no, not in the way you believe. He said, what do you mean? He said, you believe in the God as a noun. Okay, you have the noun and the verb, right? So he said, you believe in the God as a noun. And he said, I don't believe in your God as a noun. Because the moment you limit God to a noun, right, it could be a place, animal, thing, you have definition of noun. You're limiting him to time, space and matter. I relate to my God as a verb. That is what he said. And which is very beautiful, the 99 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is what the verb, again, if you go to relate to Asmaul Husna, La ilaha illallah Usman Malkul Qudus, La ilaha illallah Usman Aziz Jabbar, La ilaha illallah Ghafur Rahim, La ilaha illallah Ghafur, La ilaha illallah Karim Al-Hakim, La ilaha illallah Ghafur Rahim, La ilaha illallah Wahadul Had. So all these 99 names which are there, if you try to comprehend that, with your limited, intelligence of the 5 senses, right, you already, limiting Allah. The only way you can comprehend that in the true sense is when you get into your own soul, and then which is through the Sheikh, through the mercy of your Sheikh, then you get to Fanaf Rasul, to the into the Nur of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and then the light which comes in. You first you have to see the light of your own soul within your own body, then you see the light of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Nur of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and when you do the ibadat of Allah, seeing the Nur of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that is where the true ibadat starts, right? So my point here is Kul hu Allahu ahad, right? The explanation is what? Allah is one. No, Allah is not one. Here ahad means oneness. That say you and I, Allah is telling you and I, brothers and sisters, that me and you, your soul and me, we are one. Illallahu, that's what Allah means there. Kul hu Allahu ahad, not Kul hu Allahu wahid. Allah is one. The moment you say Kul hu Allahu wahid, Allah is one, there is a separation between you and Allah, right? And here at a deeper spiritual level, it is said Kul hu Allahu ahad means oneness. Allah is telling me as a slave that, oh slave, your soul and me, we are one. So that is the journey where Allah is introducing the seeker to. Okay. So the point is, this is the deep wisdom that Maula Ali brought. And you will not find this, if I'm saying this thing and you're listening to this Kul hu Allahu ahad, explanation now, and you'll be perplexed for sure. That's because you have not got introduced to the wisdom of Maula Ali. You're listening to some tafsir. Okay, so best of luck with that explanation. So okay, now let's go over to the from Annati state to Ati state to Awal state. Now that is where the creation happened. That means the Ahad and the Meme. The Meme, even when you look at from a physical universe point of view, Meme represents Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in Alif Lam Meme, where we talked about that, all our presentations. Alif Lam Meme is Alif is Allah, Lam is Muhyiddin, which is the wisdom, which is the Nur of Maula Ali, and Meme is Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So when you look, when especially doctors, students of medical science, they know the sperm, when you look in the microscope, it is the shape of the Meme. So the moment the Ahad is added to the Meme, it becomes Ahmad. And the doer of that, which is Muhammad, right? When, for example, Azan, when you add Meme in front of it, it becomes Muazzin. Hundus means engineering. When you add Meme in front of it, it becomes Muhandis, which is engineer, right? So similarly, when you add Meme to Ahad, it becomes Ahmad, right? And then we had a Meme in front of Ahmad, it becomes Muhammad, which is the manifestation of Ahmad, which is the doer, right? Okay, so that's what is covered here. Now, why I brought this thing here, right? Again, going back to Man Kuntum Maula, we are, that's where the topic, and that's one of the reasons, brothers and sisters, I said that this is so deep. The ilm is so deep, and I have to make, do justice. I don't want to leave anything out here, whatever little I know about this topic, right? So, Maula Hassan and Hussein, the blessed children of the union of Maula Ali and Fatima radhiyallahu anha. So now that we have reached up to this point, you need to understand, when you look at Maula Ali and Fatima, it's not just the form, right? You think about going back to the hadith where Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said to Jibreel Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that I am that star, and the turban is Maula Ali, right? The two earrings are Maula Hassan and Maula Hussein, and the pendant, at the heart of the star of the necklace is Fatima. So that Noor in the created universe, when it manifested as Maula Ali and Fatima radhiyallahu anha, their union gave the blessed children of Maula Hassan, Maula Hussein, and Zainab radiallahu anha, right? So the wisdom, and so that the wisdom can continue. Okay, and we are going to cover this thing, in the next slides, where the treachery happens, the deceit happens, and the shahadat, the all the blessed, whether it is Maula Ali or Maula Hassan or Maula Hussein, they are all shaheed. This earth, which is filled with, which is cursed by Allah, as we said, hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they did not respect and honor these elevated souls, who represent the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, immediate family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They were all mercilessly killed. Okay, so what do you think you expect in this path from people around, right? If you start talking about these things, what do you think is going to happen to you in an open forum? I can go to a Juma khutbah, nobody's going to accept it. They're going to, maybe fatwas will be available that, these are all things which is bid'ah and shirk, and you know what happens, right? Everything is bid'ah and shirk, and I think, people are mentally retarded, those people who say that, because they don't have the courage to go within their own self and to connect to their own soul, to the wisdom which has been given. And again, it depends, how much you can absorb, right? So again, I have to make this remark, so because I see sometimes the anger or the treachery of the people, and I don't mingle with people of that category, because I don't have time to waste in my life. I'd rather sit alone and do zikr of Allah rather than mingle with people who don't want to understand wisdom. And Baba Muhyiddin, my kutub, my sheikh said that whatever wisdom I'm giving you, make sure that you don't take the pearls of wisdom that I'm handing you, put it around the neck of a monkey. Okay, Baba said that be careful that to whom you disperse this wisdom to, and allow my sheikh very much, more than my own self. And so I'm saying this to you, right? And I am saying this for not for the monkeys, for those enlightened souls who are in this path. Okay, so the point is that the blessed union of Maula Ali and Fatima, Maula Hassan and Hussein radiallahu anhu came, and their roles were to decipher, to spread this wisdom. But guess what? They were shaheed at a very young age. Maula Hassan was shaheed around 45 years old, and Maula Hussein was 56 years old. So their lives were truncated. And Allah, in His infinite wisdom and infinite mercy to the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this wisdom which was brought by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the Quran and the Hadith is so deep that this earth with all these impurities will not be able to handle it, and they're going to attack these pure souls. So these 12 kutubs were sent in the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The 11th form of that is Baba Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu, and the 12th one inshallah will come, is going to be Imam Mahdi, the awaited Mahdi for the ummah. Now let's look at the concept of Rahmat, and Rahim. So when you look at Rahmat, the manifestation of that, there is definitely the attribute of Rahman and Rahim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. The manifestation of Allah as the Rahman and Rahim. That's how He introduced Himself. My beloved Allah, who loves me 70 times more than my own mother, who gave birth to me, loves me. He introduced Himself as, as Ar-Rahman and Rahim. Out of all His 99 attributes, He introduced me with this too. Let's look at from the manifested world. In the manifested world, you look at Rahmat, the Rahman, the Sifat. It says, Inna arsalnaka illa rahmatul lil alamin. And who is that? That is the manifestation in the form of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And what about the Rahim? The Rahim is the wisdom which exists in every religion. The hidden mercy. And the kutubs are called the hidden mercy. And those kutubs, the light of the kutubs came from Maula Ali. And which has the potential through scriptures and through hidden knowledge to liberate my soul. And that manifestation of Rahim is Maula Ali, the kutubs of this ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In fact, Baba Muhyiddin, his full name is Muhammad Rahim Baba Muhyiddin. Muhammad Rahim Baba Muhyiddin. Okay, and it is a secret here. I'll disclose it. Whenever Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the rahmat, the final manifestation of the rahmat happens, the final manifestation of Rahim in the body form. Again, the body form. You're not talking about the attribute of Allah, brothers and sisters. The body form. Maula Ali has to be present at the same time, and that is the reason Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is there, and he's receiving Maula Ali. Now we are going to go back to Kaaba, where he was born. Maula Ali was born, right? Where he's born? He's born inside the Kaaba. Why? You didn't have any other house in Makkah? No, because that pure soul, the wisdom, can only be born within the house of Allah. Even when he's coming into this world, has to be born within the house of Allah. The sad part of it is, brothers, again, there's a negative part. I don't want to get into the negativity, but unfortunately, there is negativity. The sad part of it, till 300 years after the mission of Islam, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam getting the Nabuwat, and again, the 40 years is for Shariat point of view. He was a Nabi before Adam Alayhi Salatu Wasallam was even created, right? So my point is, 300 years, till 300 years, there was no confusion that Maula Ali was born inside the Kaaba. It was later than all this fitna came. And now, if you ask somebody, where was Maula Ali born? He'll say, oh, maybe in the precincts around the Kaaba, or in the Kaaba. Oh, how could he be born there, right? So that is the level of ignorance and darkness that today's Muslims have fallen to. They don't even know what happened, right? So when we look at Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim in a manifested world, you could think that the closest to as a manifestation of Rahman is Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, of Rahim is the wisdom, which is the wisdom of coming from Allah in the form of Maula Ali, okay, which is the wilayat, and which is where all this knowledge that we're talking about is coming from that wilayat. Okay, and Rahmat, definitely the seal of the prophets and wisdom in the form of Maula Ali, where the wisdom was dispersed. And Gausul Azam Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani radiallahu anhu, I want to touch on that, because he was born in Iran. He was a Sayyid, from his mother's side and from his father's side. And when he finally, he was elevated to the level of the Kutub, he was in Baghdad Sharif, and he did not, he was not, because he was not from the Arab descent at that time, he actually prayed to Allah, Ya Allah, I'm not from the Arab descent, and my Arabic is not that fluent compared to the Arabs of the Iraq, right? So how am I going to do this job of dispersing the ilm of Kutubiyat? And at that time, Allah, in the night, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and came, spit 7 times into the mouth of Gausul Azam Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani radiallahu anhu. And after a few minutes, Maula Ali came and then spit into the mouth of Gausul Azam Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani radiallahu anhu 6 times. So, Gausul Azam asked Maula Ali that, why are you keeping the count 6? He said, I have to keep the count 1 below my beloved Nabi Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So, Maula Ali always, is the wisdom is one level below the manifestation of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Okay. And so again, a recap here, right? We are talking about the formless state of Maula Ali. So Alif Lam Mim, Alif is Allah, Lam is the wisdom in the form of Maula Ali, and the same form which continued as the Kutubs, the Naqibs, the Abdals, and the Walis, right? In this world there are presently there are 60 Abdals. In 60 Abdals there are 3 Naqibs, and the 3 Naqibs are in charge of 20 Abdals, and these Abdals, because of their duas and of their pure life, the earth is still sustaining, and there's still vegetation growing, and human souls are being sent into the earth, and life is still sustaining. If it was not for this dua of this Kutubs and Naqibs and Abdals and the Walis, the earth would have been destroyed by Allah a long time before. And so that is the wisdom. And Meme is the manifestation of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I want to put this line here, and which is the kutubs in the earlier revelation. uh, Brothers and sisters, I thought about it. That would be another 20 slides, and I really can't do justice, because I this itself, whatever I'm talking, right, it will be, I know it's very difficult for people because who are getting exposed to this for the first time, and I always say about this, the law of cognitive disorder. The cognitive disorder law says that if, for example, if you have a, a sibling in your house, and you tell the sibling, and you that you show him the blue color and tell him this blue is actually green. So everybody in the house, the mother, father, and the rest of the brothers and sisters, tell the small child who is an infant, baby boy, running around, this is blue. The blue color actually is green, right? And he thinks that the blue is actually green color. And when he finally goes to his kindergarten or pre-K, and the teacher starts teaching him, showing him the blue color and says, this is blue, the first reaction is he's going to reject it, because he has been taught that this is green color, right? And that is the law of cognitive disorder. And so it's going to happen in any knowledge. So you have to be broad-minded if you have to accept things which are beyond you. If you want to grow, you want to explore. And this spirituality is such a field that you cannot just grow, sitting. Spirituality comes from experience. You have to go into meditation. You have to learn meditation. You have to learn the zikr of this path. Then you experience. You see Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you see Maula Ali, you see Maula Hassan, Hussein, Umma Fatima Radhiyallahu Anha. All these blessed souls come in being. They are real in your life, much more real than the human beings around you. And then you are in that world. And then you start the real the prayer. And that is what Qutb Baha Muhyiddin says, that for a true moment, 124,000, when he starts praying, 124,000 prophets and the Qutubs and the Walis of Allah are present with him during the prayer, he says, because that is a world that he gets transported into. The world of form is really nothing. It is said that if you take the entire Quran as a volume of book, right, the spiritual world, if the entire Quran is the entire Quran is equated to the spiritual world, the entire 18,000 universes put together, the material universes put together, is not even equal to the nukat, which is the dot below the letter ba of Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. That's how insignificant the form is. So unless you go into your own being and you touch that formless state within your own being, a lot of these things will be difficult for you to grasp. But again, I have to put this knowledge out there so that it's food for thought and people start this journey, so to explore their own selves. Once you explore your own self, whatever you're talking about, Maula Ali, Maula Hassan, Maula Hussein, everything will disappear. The moment you touch the infinity within your own self, all this, the confusion will disappear within no time. And when will that happen? When you fall at your Rabb's feet and say, Ya Allah, I'm nothing. I don't know anything. I'm a jahil. If whatever is being said here, if this is true, open up this dimension for me. And Allah, when he tests you, goes through trials and tribulation, it's not easy, brother. You're not going to get there just like a switch of light. No, it's not going to happen. Go through this journey deep with sincerity and commitment. Then one day things open up. Okay, inshallah. So my point is that the kutubs were there in previous revelations, and you could call them so-called religions. I really don't want to call them religions, because there is only one religion which came for the entire human race, which is Islam. It is mankind which give different names to that. So I don't even want to go call religions anymore. All right. Now let's look at the human manifestation of Maula Ali, and this is going to be a little easy for us because it's just incidents that we're going through. Okay, the more brain work has been done before. This is just going through some history, and this is what most of the people, even you would be surprised when I'm going to the form of Maula Ali, that a lot of things are not even available today. Even that has been taken out from history books. Okay, and then you will understand when you come through all this thing towards the end of this presentation, you will understand where it has taken you as a seeker. Okay, and why this is so important is because the person who starts loving Maula Ali, he becomes a mu'min, brothers and sisters. I'm going to repeat that. The person who starts loving Maula Ali, deep love for Maula Ali, he becomes a mu'min. This is a hadith, true hadith of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Okay, and you can think about today, if you look at Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, he is very well talked about. Maula Ali is not much talked about in the Sunni world, right? In the Shia world, definitely, brothers, Shia brothers, mashallah, they really talk about a lot about Maula Ali and Maula Hassan and Maula Hussein. Okay, but in general, because the Shia world is a very small minority of the bigger Sunni world, the so-called Al Sunnah wal Jama. I don't even know what to call these people anymore. Okay, so again, going back to the manifestation of Maula Ali, the form. Now, Maula Ali, again, he was called Asad Allah, the Lion of Allah. There was a sutun. If you go to Riyadul Jannah, where in Madina Munawara, in the Masjid Nabawi, where the grey carpet is laid nowadays, right? You'll find there is a sutun, there's a column which says Sutun Ali. Maula Ali used to sit there guarding Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam because there were death threats to him. People wanted to eliminate Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also, right? So negative power is always there, and Maula Ali used to sit there, during all the battles. Maula Ali was always there next to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam defending him. Even the pitch of the battles, whether it is the battle of Badr, battle of Uhud, battle of Khandak, Maula Ali was always decisive. Without him, and he had the sword of Zulfikar, which had two pointed edges. Normally a sword has one edge, right? A pointed, vortex, you could call. This one had two, right? And why it is two is because it's called Zulfikar. The sword of Maula Ali was called because it when he cuts something, it cuts in two worlds. Cuts the evil off in not only in the dunya but also in the alame arwa, okay, in the world of the souls also. So Maula Ali was one of the Sahabas, you could call him, when you bring him down to the form level. I have to come back from the formless to the form now, so I have to get used to myself. So okay, so one of the Sahabas, and he used to guard Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, during the night of Hijrah, and this is a beautiful incident. I want to tell you about how the wisdom of Maula Ali, right? One day, after he migrated, the night of Hijrah, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Quraysh of Makkah, they plotted to kill Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Finally, they agreed together, right? Because Abu Talib radiallahu anhu has passed away, and all Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's all his protection was gone. He's going to migrate. So what they said, Shaitan comes in form of a old man and says, guys, I know that nobody wants the blood of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of Muhammad bin Abdullah. They used to call him Muhammad bin Abdullah on their head. So what you do is all the tribesmen send one guy, and everybody go and kill him at one point, and the blame would be shared by all the tribes, so there would be no fighting. So that's what their plan was. So on the night of Hijrah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, reveals to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to recite Surah Yasin. Yasin mal Quran innaka lamursalin la siratal mustaqim tanzil aziz rahmatun zara qawman manzara bahum fahum ghafirun laqad aqal qawlu ala aktharim fahum nakununa jalna fi agnaki maklalan fi askan fahum mukmun wa jalna min bayna aydihim shaddan wa min khalfahum shaddan faghshaynahum fahum la yubsirun. I have created a barrier in front of them and behind them, and they will not be able to see. And saying that, the ninth ayat, I think, of Surah Yasin, he takes some mud and throws it and opens the door and he walks away, right? And nobody, these Quraysh soldiers, they're waiting outside to kill Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They don't see him. In the morning, they know that they're waiting, right? It's morning time, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells Maula Ali to sleep on his bed in the night. So they think that it's Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam who is sleeping, so they're still waiting. So when it's morning time, they want to attack, and they jump inside, and they're just about to strike. They remove the blanket which Maula Ali had covered himself with, and they found it's Maula Ali, and they just step back. They say, "Oh, this is not Rasulullah." And the Sahabas, and we know that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam migrated with Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, and the Ghar Thawr and all this incident. I'm not going there. The Sahabas asked Maula Ali that, "Ya Maula, you are, you slept, and the death was right in front of you. They could have killed you anytime." Maula Ali actually smiled. Here's the wisdom of Maula Ali, right? The source of all wisdom. He smiled and said, "No, that was the night when I slept the most peaceful." He said, "Why?" He said, "That night I knew that the angel of death will not come close to me. He said, why? He said, because Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told me that tomorrow morning when you get up, I have all this amana of the people of Makkah. You have to distribute this one to this one, this one to this one, so and so to so and so, and and then you come migrate to Medina. Okay. So he said that when my Rasul said that I have to get up in the morning and I have to distribute, how do you think these people are going to kill me? So he said, I have the most peaceful sleep on the night. I've slept like a log, he said. Just telling you that, how the wisdom of Maula Ali. Again, Fatima radhiyallahu anha, the wedding of Fatima radhiyallahu anha, when she became the wedding age, a lot of proposals came, For example, one of the proposal was from Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu himself, then Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, they all tried, right? They wanted to get closer to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The love for Rasulullah was so much, they wanted to get, become the husband for his beloved daughter, so that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will love them more. That is how the Sahabis were, And Maula Ali comes, he comes in a very shy because, and he stands in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam immediately recognizes. He said, you have come to ask for from my daughter's hand, and he just stood there. And when he went inside and asked his Fatima, she also smiled and put her head down. And mashallah, my point is that, and the nikah happened, mashallah, and Allah actually revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying that, this nikah has been already done in the heavenly plane. All you have to do is just do the ritual on the earthly plane. So there is another riwayah which says that all the deeds of Maula Ali, not this form itself, the form which has manifested maybe so many times in different other earth planes, all that put together in a hur. A hur is not, in Auzubillah, that the Western world talk about the virgins, no, the virgin woman, no. A hur is your own good deeds. Your own good deeds in a beautiful form. When Allah creates a form, the beautiful deeds that Maula Ali has done, when that is put into a hur or into a form, that form becomes the form of Fatima the Zahra radiallahu anha, and that is the heart of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that's how close the connection is, brothers and sisters, between Maula Ali, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Fatima radiallahu anha, and hence Maula Hassan and Hussein radiallahu anhu. And again, to the next incident I want to touch here is his self-control. He was always decisive in his battle. He nobody could overpower Maula Ali in a single combat or anything. And one day, he was in a battle, and one of the opponents, he was subdued by Maula Ali, and he was lying on the battleground, and Maula Ali was just about to strike the fatal blow, and at that time, this guy who's lying on the ground, he spits on Maula Ali's face. And Maula Ali immediately withdraws himself. And this person is completely perplexed. He said, what happened here? I spit on him. He should have got more angry, and he should have just blew my head off. And Maula Ali just stepped back. He said, Maula Ali said, I cannot do that anymore, because when I was having the fight with you on the earthly plane, it was for the sake of Allah. Now that you spit on me, I have doubts that maybe my ego got hurt, and now if I do the killing, myself will get involved in the killing, and I don't want to do that. So just think about it, brothers and sisters, the amount of wisdom that Maula Ali had behind his every act. Okay, even when he's in the pitch of the battle and he has subdued his enemy, and the enemy spit on his face, and people will take it as an insult, and he moves away and spares his life. Because of that, that person who was spared, he accepts Islam. So this is the beauty of Maula Ali's wisdom and his self-control as in the human form. Okay. Another small incident, burial of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Maula Ali gave the ghusl to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There was a drop of water, which was in the corner of the ridge of the nose and the eyelids of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Maula Ali did not want to wipe it, so he goes very close to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and sucks that water in. And Maula Ali says after that, his eyes could see all the secrets of the universe. Just that one drop of water which was coming out of the eyes of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So brothers and sisters, the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? You have to go beyond the body, right? And that's what we are saying. It's not just the body form. So we'll continue here. Again, some few incidents, again, brothers and sisters, I told you this thing, it's so much vast, right? And I won't be able to do justice to it, but I'm just taking some few incidents. There was a time, Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, he's the second Khalifa after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, has passed away. Then Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu passed away. Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu is the Khalifa. Two women come fighting over a boy child. These two women, they were in one room, and both of them gave birth to children. One of them was a girl child, one was a boy. The woman who gave birth to the girl, she wanted a boy. So what she said, she bribed the midwife and said, switch the babies. And she took the baby boy, and the midwife gave the baby girl to the other mother who had delivered the baby boy. Now the mother who delivered the baby boy was a very pious woman, and she saw in a dream way before that she was going to deliver a baby boy. So she was expecting a boy, and when she saw the girl, she couldn't just connect to the girl, and she had a feeling that the boy was her boy. So it was and the midwife wouldn't disclose because she was bribed. So this particular case went to Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu. Now he has to decide, give a judgment based on the facts. And Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, you can look at all the Quran and the Hadith, and there is no clue what's going to happen here, because what, now you need wisdom beyond what was revealed, right? So that is hidden wisdom which Maula Ali had, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam definitely had it. But you look at the limitation here of Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu as a golden Sahabi who loved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but still look at the wisdom of Maula Ali. So Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu immediately calls on Maula Ali. He says, please come and help me. And he comes there. He says, okay, get me equal quantity of milk from the breast of both the mothers, the one which gave birth to the boy and the girl. So both of them, the mothers gave the breast milk, and Maula Ali told the Sahabas to wait, to wait. And he said that breast milk which has got more weight, that mother has given birth to the baby boy, and that breast milk which has lesser weight has given birth to the baby girl. And this was the ruling. And when it was done, and when after that the ruling was done, and then the false mother, she eventually she gave in and said, she actually bribed the midwife. So this is the wisdom of Maula Ali. It is beyond the wisdom that in the seen world. Okay. Then I'm going to talk about another incident where a woman, this is in Masjid Kufa, where now Maula Ali, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has passed away. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, Uthman al-Ghani radiallahu anhu, they're all passed away. Maula Ali is the Khalifa, and it's very difficult times. He went through the most tough times, and we will talk about it. What happens that Maula Ali comes to Kufa, and he has the Masjid of Kufa, and that masjid was actually built by Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu during the conquest of Persia, because it was very difficult for the Sahabas to travel from Medina all the way to Persia and fight a battle. So they knew that they had to get a midpoint where there could be a garrison, like a battalion can be kept there. And Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu actually built the Masjid of Kufa, and it became the garrison. And why he chose that place? Because almost all the prophets have visited that place. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam's ship was built there, right? And I have been to Masjid al-Kufa. It's one of the most beautiful masajids. It's got so much of significance there. And Maula Ali was, he was the Khalifa. So a woman was brought, and her belly was too huge. Okay, because and from outside you would think she's pregnant, and she was an unmarried woman, and everybody in the society said, well, she has done adultery, and you need to proclaim the decision to Maula Ali. And at that time there was no sonography or any scanning or anything, so they couldn't make out whether the baby was there or why the stomach was so bulging. Maula Ali, in his infinite wisdom, he knew that, he said, let me find out what's going on. So what he does is that he tells the people to bring a big drum, a drum, and fill it with mud. And first the taste makes the woman enter the drum first, and then he fills it with mud around the drum, and she's standing inside the drum. What happens is, because of the smell of the earth, and they covered her up all the way up to the shoulder, the body with mud, right? Just the head was exposed. Because of the smell of the mud, she had a worm inside her stomach which had grown so big that it was actually making people feel that she was pregnant. The worm actually came out from her mouth, and Maula Ali said that why the worm came out is because the worm is always connected to earth. The moment it felt the closeness of earth around the body, it came out from the mouth. And that is how the judgment was given, and the woman was let free, and she was a beautiful, pious woman, and her honor and life was saved. So again, giving you the wisdom of Maula Ali, right? How he handled different situation. Battle of Khyber incident which happened, which is so deep. The Sahabas had literally for months together laid a siege, and at that time there were tribes there were Jewish tribes which were very powerful, and there was some treachery which happened, and there was a treaty between the Muslims and the people there, and they betrayed the treaty. At that time, if you betray a treaty, then the war is declared, and it's treason, and the punishment for treason at that time was it's by killing. That was the rule at that time. So when the Sahabas, when they won it, Maula Ali, in fact, single-handedly, he broke the door of the fort and ripped it apart. And there is a dua which comes, Naad Ali mazhare ajaib tajdahu aw an laka fin nawaib kullun hammin wa ghammin sayanjali bi azmatika ya Allah bi nabutika ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam bi wilayatika ya aliyu ya ali adrikni fi sabilillah Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sayyidina Muhammad wa ajil farjahum. This dua was recited. It is said Jibreel sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought this dua down to proclaim the greatness of Maula Ali, because that day was so decisive. After that day, the Muslims, because there was so much of wealth in the fort in that place, the Muslims actually, first time in their entire lifetime of the mission of Islam till that point, then the prosperity started from that point. So you can imagine the amount of wealth which came after that battle. The Muslim Ummah started becoming rich from that point. Maula Ali was given his huge share by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because it was single-handedly won by Maula Ali on that day. So my point here is, and Maula Ali got all his his fair share. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave to him, and he's walking back home. All the Sahabas have returned back to Madinah Munawwara, and they're sharing the wealth and the prosperity with their wives and children. Maula Ali, it's late in the night, and he's still not reached home. Ummah Fatima radhiyallahu anha and both children Hassan and Hussein radhiyallahu anha waiting at the doorsteps for the father to bring gifts. He comes, walks in empty-handed, and Ummah Fatima radhiyallahu anha is, Ya Allah. He looks at him and said, what happened? You've been so delayed. He said, yeah, when I was coming home, I passed by the city of the Quba, Masjid Quba, where we go, right? And there were a lot of orphans and a lot of destitute women and children living in that place. And when they found Maula Ali coming, they knew the generosity of the Sayyids. They surrounded him, and he kept on taking care of the necessity of every person who came to him. So by the time he reached home, all the wealth was distributed. Ummah Fatima radhiyallahu anha, the blessed daughter of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when she heard it, and she went in sujood, and she cried to Allah that, Allah, how blessed husband have you given me. Brothers and sisters, this is true Islam. If it was a wife of today, she will be yelling and screaming at the husband, saying that, you nutcase, you just, spend all the wealth and you did not bring anything back to the family. I'm not saying every mother is like that, but I'm just saying, brothers and sisters, this is the pure relation of Maula Ali with Fatima Radhiyallahu anha, they lived for the highest of ideals. Towards the end of this presentation, you'll know where I'm getting. Now I'm going to the last one. Again, we're talking about the character and the justice and the ruling of Maula Ali. Maula Ali is, a killer, one of the Khawarij, and we'll talk about who are the Khawarij and all that later on. Khawarij, he actually killed, Maula Ali, and Maula Ali was walking with the Sahabas in Kufa, and he showed this Khawarij, his name is Ibn Muljam, and he said, this person is going to kill me after 3 days. And the Sahabas, his companion said, let's go and seize him right away and put him to trial. He said, you cannot, because he has not done anything. And then Maula Ali said something. He said, I know in the qadr of Allah that this person is going to kill me. So look at the wisdom and the generosity and the greatness of Maula Ali. He said, it is my duty to protect his life because he's going to kill me. Brothers and sisters, it is the duty of Maula Ali to protect the life of his killer, because it is the qadr of Allah that this killer is going to kill Maula Ali. Have you ever heard about such incidents? So that's how great Maula Ali was as a human being in the form that he came. Again, hadith kisa, this is a hadith which the Shia brothers quote a lot, and definitely there's a lot of significance in that, because it is talking about the spiritual cleanness, the piety and the masumin, the darja of masumin, which is the infallible quality of Maula Hassan, Maula Hussein, Umma Fatima, Maula Ali. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one day he is wearing a cloak and he enters the household of Umma Fatima radhiyallahu anha. Maula Hassan, a baby boy, he starts running and he comes close to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and hugs him. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, includes him in his cloak. Then few seconds later, Maula Hussein is running right behind him and comes on the other side, on his left hand side, sits next to his grandfather. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam hugs him, puts the cloak around him, both children. Then Fatima radhiyallahu anha sees that, and she comes inside and the cloak. Then Maula Ali comes and he also hugs Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So now the cloak is on all 5 of them: Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Maula Ali, Maula Hassan, Maula Hussein, and Fatima radhiyallahu anha. And the sequence is how Maula Hassan came first, Maula Hussein came second, then came Fatima radhiyallahu anha, and then came Maula Ali, right? And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam makes a dua at that time. He says, Allah desires to take away any uncleanness from you, means purifies you, and O people of the household, and purify yourself. This is a saying for you and me that, and this is a sign for you and me that when you start loving Maula Ali, Maula Hassan, Maula Hussein, and Fatima radhiyallahu anha, Amina, Khadija, these blessed souls, the love is so pure that the moment it starts entering a human being, it becomes incumbent on Allah, your own creator, that he starts purifying you, because their love is itself a purification process. Your heart melts and you start connecting to deeper level of spirituality. Wisdom starts entering you and you start transforming yourself. Okay, and that is what, as I said, one of my close friends, he said that the biggest gift that you can give to your own fellow human beings is you start your own enlightenment process, because then the evil within you starts decreasing, you become a better human being, and you start giving positive energy to people around you. And that's the best gift you can give to humanity, is that you start your own spiritual process. Okay. And again, just a reference here about the Uthmania Khilafat, which was destroyed in 1914, about 100 years before. In the Uthmania Khilafat lasted for, I think, 300 years, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't remember it correctly. in the Uthmaniya Khilafah, the Khalifas were so particular that they had a special code for the Sayyids, right? So if a Sayyid has done any small mistake, he will not be tried in the normal court as of a non-Sayyid. The Sayyids themselves had a different code, and the Sayyid, if a son or somebody has done a small mistake, they would be tried by the Sayyids there. And the Sayyids always wore a green turban. The descendants of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam from Fatima and Maula Ali, they wear a green turban. When the punishment was carried out, the turban used to be removed, and the punishment was done. Immediately after the punishment, with all the respect and love, that turban is put back on the Sayyid's head. So the point is that is how much reverence that you should have to the pure Sayyids even today, that they are from the family of the household of Maula Ali and Maula Hussein radiallahu anhu. And the love for Maula Hassan, Maula Hussein, Fatima, Khadija, and that should show in your own dealing with the Sayyids of today, brothers and sisters. That is part of your Iman. We'll go through that in the future presentation, and I have touched that in Fanafi Rasul also, but again, we'll just cover it quickly in here also. Okay. Now, we are coming into the negative part. So far, alhamdulillah, everything that we talked about is the positive part. Okay, but by now you must have got exposed to all the wealth of information which has been given here, right? Now let's go into that topic which has never been discussed, and we discuss behind closed doors and why. Okay. And there's a little painful topics here, but again, we're not going to spend much time because there is no wisdom behind it. It's just incidents we're talking about. All right. I want to touch on this thing. We are going to touch about before we discuss about the Sahabas, right? Because the true Sahabas of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, were the best of creation. And Gausul Azam Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani, one of the kutubs of one of the 12 kutubs of the Ummah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said the dust in the noses of the horses of the Sahabas, the value of that dust in the noses of the horses of the Sahabas when they used to go for missions and to help Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the mission of Islam, the dust which touched the noses of the horses of the Sahabas was more valuable than for us. So that is the darja that Gausul Azam told. So let us keep that in my mind. Let me keep that honor and respect for the Sahabas when I'm discussing this thing. At no point should my brothers and sisters who are listening to this should feel that I'm trying to demean anyone. I'm going to put on the facts in front of you. Okay, and then you decide. Having said that, I'm going to the next one. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, one day Jibril Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam came to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and in Masjid Nabi, behind Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, there was a big, rush of people who prayed all the 5-time prayers. And Jibril Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam came to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and revealed the names of the munafiqs who prayed behind Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Right, and that list, there was a huge list. That list, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam disclosed to Hudayfa bin Yaman Sahabi. Said he gave disclosed and said, don't tell this to anybody. I'm going to tell it to you. The word spreads around in the entire city of Medina that Jibril Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has come and he's given the list of munafiqs to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and Hudayfa bin Yaman has that list. Guess who runs first to Hudayfa bin Yaman? Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu. He's the golden Sahabi. He loved Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam so much. He rushes to him and says, Ya Hudayfa, is my name in the, you have the, I heard you have the list. He said, yeah, I have the list. He said, can you show me the list? He said, no, I can't. And I can't tell you who's in, I can't show you the list. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has not given permission. Then he says, okay, fine. If he has not given permission, then let me ask you this question. Can you even at least tell me, is my name in the list or not? Brothers and sisters, this is Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, about whom Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that if Umar walks this way, Shaitan runs away from that path. Right. So my point is that look at the Sahabis, right? They were always so humble and ready to correct themselves that they did not even look themselves as a mu'min. They would think that they were munafiqs, and they sacrificed everything for the sake of the deen of Islam. Okay, but again, so the point is that there were munafiqs who were praying behind Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That's my point. So not everybody you think was a Sahabi of that darja, which is covered in the initial part of the slide, which says that the dust on the noses of the horses of the Sahabas as less value than that. The true Sahabas, absolutely, but not all of them were true. There were munafiqs who were praying behind Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then again, this is something the Kutubs also said, that Ashara Mubashara, the 10 Sahabas who were promised Jannah, right, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All the 313 Sahabas who participated in Battle of Badr, they were forgiven by Allah, right? So after that, lot of other Sahabis came. Now let's look at the hadith count. Okay, this is very important, because why I have to bring this up, because now we're going to cover the treachery and where we are right now as a ummat. Okay, now Abu Huraira was a Sahabi. He spent less than 3 years. He accepted Islam during the Battle of Khandak, after the Battle of Khandak, which was in the 7th year of Hijri. And he only spent between 2 and 3 years. Some of the Mufassirin say 2 years, some say 3 years. And he spent most of the time in Ashab al-Sufa, and he came from Yemen, and we'll talk about that in the next few slides. But he, in that less than 3 years, he had 5,374 hadiths that he said he heard from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, Aisha radhiyallahu anha, who got married to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam 2 years after Khadija radhiyallahu anha passed away, she was married to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for a period of 9 years. And she, mashallah, recited 2,210 hadiths. Most of this hadith, what she recited, is from the family perspective, for the woman perspective. And mashallah, because she was young, she could propagate that to so many women in the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, she was only 18 years old. So she was there for a long time, because she passed away when she was 66 years old. So she was there for a long time to spread the wealth of the hadiths, and these were all connected to the family life and the woman issues and all that, which was beautiful. Then the next one is Maula Ali. Maula Ali only narrated 586 hadiths from the birth. He was part of the household of Khadija and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So 30 years he spent with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He only narrated 586 hadiths. Umar bin Khattab radhiyallahu anhu, he accepted Islam during the persecution of Makkah. Again, he was during the time of 23 years of Nabuwa, 16 years approximately. He only recited 537 hadiths. Okay, Uthman al-Ghani radhiyallahu anhu, he was there from the beginning of the mission, 23 years, only recited 146 hadiths. Abu Bakr Siddiq radhiyallahu anhu, from day one of the mission, Maula Ali was the first male to accept Islam, for a boy, you can say, at that time, and the grown-up was Abu Bakr Siddiq radhiyallahu anhu, right? And Khadija was the first female. So from the time of mission, Abu Bakr Siddiq radhiyallahu anhu, how many hadiths he narrated? 142. Abu Bakr Siddiq radhiyallahu anhu was so careful that he would not recite hadiths, because he was so careful that he loved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam so much. The tariqat which comes from Abu Bakr Siddiq radhiyallahu anhu is the Naqshbandiya tariqat, and in that tariqat the hissa, you would say, the content of nabuwat is much more. In the tariqat which is the Chistiya, the Soharwardi, the Qadriya, Chistiya, Soharwardi, the Shahadaliya, all this tariqat, the vilayat or the wisdom is more. Okay, and in Abu Bakr Siddiq radhiyallahu anhu, the tariqat which came from Abu Bakr Siddiq radhiyallahu anhu, the nabuwat is the hissa of nabuwat, or the part of nabuwat is more, and vilayat is less, right? And the other one, the vilayat is more, what came from Abu Bakr Siddiq radhiyallahu anhu, from a wisdom point of view. So my point here is, look at this table and look at Abu Huraira. Don't you think there's something wrong here, right? Here's a person who spent 3 years, less than 3 years, and came so later into the 7th year of Hijrah, and he has more hadiths compared to those golden Sahabas who have spent time from the day one of the mission. So there was something fishy going on here. So I'm just highlighting that to you. Okay, Abu Huraira. Okay, his name was Abdul Shams, the young 32-year-old, poor, destitute, migrated from Daw's tribe in Yemen. He accepted Islam after the Battle of Khandaq. Spent time in Ashabul Sufa. Only spent 3 years of time with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now the next one is very important. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam called him Abu Huraira. His actual name was Abdul Shams. Abu Huraira means father of the cat. Now, today, if you ask the Muslims of today, say Abu Huraira means, oh, the father of the cat, and he is given a very big honor, father of the cat. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam calls somebody by a name, there is two inclination. It's not just that he had a cat which he liked him so much and he used to carry the cat around all the time, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned him with that name Abu Huraira. But you know what? There are so many other Sahabis who also had cats in their house. He did not call them Abu Huraira. Only this particular Sahabi was called Abu Huraira. That is because of the cat-like nature. And what that means is, it's like the cunning but the innocent, acting innocent nature. He wanted to be famous and get a name for himself. That is the inside nature of Abu Huraira. Now, let's look at Sahih al-Bukhari and Muslim. You know, these are one of the Siyasita, the 7 hadith of books of hadith which are well renowned, right? Now, out of this 5,374 hadith that Abu Huraira recited, right? Sahih al-Bukhari, Bukhari Imam only recited took 93 hadith of that, and Muslim only took 89 hadith. The rest of it they rejected it because they said it's doubtful. Think about it. Look at the numbers: 5,374 minus 93, 5,281 hadith. And as far as Muslim is, 5,374 minus 89, 5,277 hadiths were rejected. So you take a ratio of that. You know, how much percentage is it has got rejected? Right, a lot. Correct. So, and again, you know, today Abu Huraira is very famous because he was one of the companions of the Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he recited so many hadiths. Look at what's the reality. Now, he was not famous till the Umayyad Khalifa, which is the Khilafat of Muawiyah. Muawiyah came after Maula Ali, and Maula Hassan was there for 6 months. After that, you know, Abu Huraira was elevated as a great guy, and that's what we're going to go through. Till that time, he was not famous between the Sahabas. Muawiyah elevated him to which is Abu Sufyan's son, okay, Hind's son, you know, elevated him to, and Hind was the woman who actually achieved the liver of Maula Hamza radiallahu anhu, who is the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who died in the Shaheed in the Battle of Uhud. Okay, so elevated him to Muawiyah elevated him, Abu Huraira, to a higher status because he wanted to use him. So let's see how he used him, right, against the Ahlul Bayt. Now, the hadiths are some of the hadiths which are recited, which there is only one witness. It's called ahad. You know, there's only one witness. Most of them, Abu Huraira would say that, you know, I was the only person witnessing, and which is very strange, right? Means Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a social figure. You know, everybody's around him all the time, and they loved him so much. So definitely, there's always company around him, right? He's not going to be isolated much. And he's saying that, you know, when he recited something, so I was the only person there with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he attributed that kind of hadith a lot, which was again questionable. Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, the second guided Khalifa, sent him as a governor of Bahrain. Within 2 years, Abu Huraira had no money. He was trading in horses with thousands of dinars and buying and selling horses, and he became very rich. Somebody complained, and you know, Umar bin Khattab, he called him back. He said, what's going on here? You went from here with the rags, no dress proper, no, and I'm giving you an allowance, you know, for you because you're doing the governor. What is all this wealth came from? He said, people gave me a lot of gifts and all that. He said, these gifts don't belong to you. Come on, give it back to the Baitul Mal. He did not like it, but knowing Umar bin Khattab, he said, well, if you don't give it, I'm going to throw you back to your mother. That I'm going to throw you back to expel you from here from Medina, from the Islamic to back to Yemen where you came from. So, and he had no choice because Umar bin Khattab was very strict. So he gave all the money back that he earned in the wrong way, being the governor of Bahrain. Then other thing which Umar bin Khattab also said is because he heard that he was in Bahrain and he wanted to become famous. That's what the Abu Huraira, right? The cat-like feature. He would sit there and recite all this hadith, and people will think, oh, mashallah, so knowledgeable person, right? And Umar bin Khattab heard about this, and he called him and said, what? Stop reciting hadith. You better not open your mouth with any more hadith. And he kept his mouth shut till Umar bin Khattab was shaheed. Okay, and another thing, Maula Ali, now that the formless and the form, Maula Ali also said that Abu Huraira was fabricating hadith. Aisha radhiyallahu anha also said that he lied and he fabricated hadith, Abu Huraira. Some of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the golden companions, they also accused Abu Huraira of being a liar and fabricating hadith. Muawiyah, this is we are talking about once Maula Ali passed away, right? He was shaheed, we'll talk about that, and Muawiyah, he got Abu Huraira promoted. He was invited into the palace in Damascus, and Syria was, Damascus was a trading town. So Muawiyah, he was appointed as the governor by Umar bin Khattab radhiyallahu anhu, and in a short time he had so much of wealth and and people at his disposal. He had servants and all that. All that life of simplicity was all gone. And he, when wealth and money and power comes, then people lose their head, right? It doesn't matter, how spiritual you are. So you lose your the fakr, the sultanul fakr, which is being a fakir. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said wal fakru wal fakr minni, that if I'm proud of something, it is fakiri, which is being destitute, and I'm fakr is from me, that I'm also fakir, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. And Muawiyah and his son Yazid, they were not living in that state. Abu Bakr Siddiq radhiyallahu anhu, Umar bin Khattab radhiyallahu anhu, Uthman al-Ghani radhiyallahu anhu was always rich, but he gave his wealth away all the time. Point is, Muawiyah got Abu Huraira promoted, and here's what he starts reinventing his hadith, right? Start giving falsified hadiths, and he recited a lot of hadiths which were pertaining to Khilafat, and he said, like, a Khalifa is right below Allah and you have to obey him all the time, which was not true. Umar bin Khattab radhiyallahu anhu, whenever he did a small mistake, people went to him and and reprimanded him, and he would listen, because it's no Khalifa is above the law. The law governs to everybody. But here, with the help of Abu Huraira, a lot of hadiths were attributed, false hadiths were attributed, were brought out. So, Abu Huraira was, given a lot of money for his allegiance to Muawiyah. Here's the worst part, right? Now, Muawiyah built a mansion for Abu Huraira in Medina. Can you imagine this? He was made the governor of Medina Munawwara. Yeah, and you bring somebody like this and make him the governor of Medina Munawwara. It's like adding salt to injury, right? So that's what these guys did. Once you get the power in politics, it happens. You see this in the world today, right? The power is the law. Power is the law. Law is not the power. That is what you're seeing here. Then the next thing what happened, falsified about Maula Ali a lot. Rumors that that he had a hand in the assassination of Uthman al-Ghani. All those things started to come out. The negative propaganda about Maula Ali. The mimbar was used by scholars, and they were on the payroll of Muawiyah, used to spread negative propaganda against Maula Ali and Ahlul Bayt. And finally, what happened? Karbala happened. Right, the worst thing that should not have ever happened, where Maula Hussein and 18 of the children of Ahlul Bayt, Fatima radhiyallahu anha's grandchildren, were hacked to death, minced to death. Right, they were like meat. So I'm bringing you, into the history where Maula Ali in a form, right? The great wisdom, in a form, what he had to go through after, because his Fatima Ratalana passed away 6 months after Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam passed away. Here's the thing: Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is passed away. Fatima Ratalana has passed away. Maula Ali has got 3 children: Maula Hassan, Maula Hussein, and Zainab. He definitely got married again to another Baneen, was one of the beautiful mothers who took care of Maula Hassan and Hussein so beautifully. And brothers and sisters, I want to say this thing. Baneen had a son, and his name is Abu Fadl Abbas radiallahu anhu. And he was the son of Maula Ali and Baneen. And the amount of love and reverence Baneen had to that for Hassan Hussein radiallahu anhu, Zainab, she used to take care of them much more than her own children from Maula Ali. And not only that, she used to tell her children, like for example for Hazrat Abu Fadl Abbas, that never consider yourself as, even though he's your half brother, Maula Hussein is your half brother, always remember that you are his slave. Ya Allah. That is how much they had reference to Panjatan Park too. And these were the golden children who were hacked to death by the Muslim Ummah. We'll go through it. Now, falsifying hadith, Mr. Abu Huraira. Well, if I take a 5-gallon water of Zamzam, and if I put a drop of urine in that, the purity of Zamzam is gone. So what do you think Mr. Abu Huraira did here? He took all the pure hadith and Quran with Sallallahu recited, and then he started putting his urine in that, right? Now let's look at what's happening today. You look at a lot of sects, right? You will see some of them have books and books, volumes printed about Abu Huraira. And you say, well, these are all Zaif hadith, and they'll say, oh, they are talking about Fazail, something, and they have in tons given reference to Abu Huraira. This is the same Abu Huraira whom Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that he has got cat-like qualities. Abu Shams. Now he's become famous because Muawiyah made him famous. You need to know that, brothers and sisters. The treachery of the books, treachery is still continuing today. So when Bukhari Imam or Imam Muslim, wiped out 5,374 minus 89 and minus 93 hadith, and only took 93, and because they were coming from other sources of Sahabas also, rest of them they just flushed it down the bloody toilet. There are people who are printing these, and then they're not only printing it, they're attributing it to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. What do you think? Shaitan is involved right there. What do you think is happening here? You recite that hadith, your iman is going to go up or going to go down the drain. It's not even, there is no connection there, brothers and sisters. And that is the mercy of Allah, that Maula Hassan and Hussein were going to be shaheed, so the 12 imams would come. Revive. Tell people, guys, go back to the true deen. All these printed books, why do you think there are so many sects and so much of trouble and tribulation, and people are infighting in Muslims? Spirituality is not there. Truth is not there. Completely vanished, right? So the point is, the shaitan and his followers they want to destroy the truth, create confusion, which is, they have done a great job doing that. Faith has weakened and destroyed. And these are the same people who recite this Abu Huraira hadith and all that. They go to in front of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's grave, blessed grave, and they stand with their back towards the Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Can you imagine, brothers, the audacity of these people? And they pray to the Kaaba. The stone house of Allah is more important than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is their Aqidah, that is their faith, right? They have these big beards and hat and all that. They call themselves Muslims. Now, who paid the price, and they're still paying the price? Let's look at who paid the price. The Ahlul Bayt and the lovers of Ahlul Bayt paid the price. Maula Ali was Shaheed. Maula Hassan was Shaheed. Maula Hussein, along with 18 children from Ummah Fatima radhiyallahu anha's household, grandchildren, all the blessed Sayyids, they were minced to death. Followers of Ahlul Bayt, same fate. Lovers of Ahlul Bayt, same fate. But the most blessed ending, right? If you die in that path like that, it's the best. What more do you want, right? Your life is succeeded. And today what's happening, the information propaganda war is going on. The war is different. The propaganda war, the information war is going on. And that is what we are doing here, right? We are also propagating the information, the right information. So those who print these falsified hadiths, the treachery, and they introduce into the mainstream Islam. And today they make the fun of Maulud. You recite Maulud, honoring the blessed birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They say bid'ah, they say shirk. Then they divide Muslims as Shia and Sunni. So somebody else can benefit out of it. And we Muslims why can't we, we unite on the basis of the love for Ahlul Bayt? Why can't we go back and start looking deeply into, unless people are mentally retarded, then that's a different issue. There might be Muslims who are mentally retarded. And they don't want to go because they can only listen to the Imam, what he says, and they'll come back home. So I can't help them, right? You have to help yourself. So the so-called Muslims or rulers, right? So the hadith talks about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said this will go from Nabuwat to Khilafat to kingship to dictatorship, and that is what we are seeing now. The Saddam Husseins and the Colonel Gaddafis and all these clowns, right? All these clowns are, you see all across the board, they are all the clowns, right? The so-called Muslim leaders of today. And what happens? The final one, inshallah, it will be the Imam Mahdi, right? Who will come from the household of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to bring the ummah back to unity. So now again, just covering this thing, mainstream Islam, the sects and the books and the teachings, thanks to the Umayyad dynasty, which is Muawiyah, Yazid, and today's Munafiqs and Fasiqs, they have institutionalized sects, the deceit of Shaitan. So my question to my fellow brothers, which Muslim ruler of today will gladly welcome if the Mahdi appears tomorrow at their doorsteps? Oh, great, you are the promised Mahdi by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Please come and sit on my throne. Please take care of the affairs of the kingdom. I'll be your slave sitting at your feet. Forget it. So what do you think these Muslim rulers of today are more related to the golden Sahabas, or they are more related to Yazid, who hacked the children of Ummah Fatima radhiyallahu anha and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Maula Ali to mince them and for power and status and money and everything. So something to think about. Now we're going to quickly go through the 4 Khulafa Rashidin, right? And 4 Khalifas here, because there are some things that we have to share here. Okay, the reason why, again, as I said, brothers, it's a little long, so please, come back to it, in pieces. Okay, let me finish this as one presentation. Now, I was amazed, that one of very close Imam, so he told me, we discussed this thing, and in this slide, the Uthman al-Ghani, Khilafat of Uthman al-Ghani, the Battle of Jamal, the Battle of Siffin, the Battle of Karbala, right? We're really talking about the 3 battles: Battle of Jamal, Battle of Siffin, and Battle of Karbala. very decisive battles. And I talked to him. I said, you know what? Why is that this is never talked about in the Juma khutbahs, never mentioned about these things? And he said, oh, even when I was studying in the Darul Uloom, they would never talk about this. They will always say, oh, they will talk about it, but they'll say, don't propagate this. And he asked, he's a very intelligent imam. He asked, why you're not telling us what happened there? He said, oh, because the lame excuse was given. Sahabas fought Sahabas, so do not discuss this thing. It will lead to the fitna of the ummah. So the Dajjali masters have taught these ulamas of today that keep all this aside. But I'm going to bring this out, brothers and sisters, because in here lies your iman. There is lessons to be learned, taken from these battles. Okay, and for you to decide where your iman should. Iman is your own thinking, your own realization of the wisdom, of the history that happened, of the wisdom which is given in the scriptures, and also where do you stand? Where does your heart stand when you come to these issues? Right? It is not because somebody on the mihrab is standing on Juma khutbah and talking about 3 hadiths and 4 ayat of the Quran, and that is your Islam. No, that's too shallow, brothers. Too shallow. Okay, so let's decide. Let's go through these 4 of them, and this is never discussed. And you'll come to know once we get to the end of it. During the time of Uthman Ghani, and again you need to know that the Islamic empire had grown vast during the time of Umar bin Khattab radhiyallahu anhu. So the more it becomes vast, anything which becomes big, right? Whether it's a big corporation or anything, control becomes a little loose. When you're a small company, you can manage it much better. When it becomes big, structure has to be in place. But again, there could be things which the business units, for example, today's corporate world, you could say business units doing bad and some doing really great. So, you always have to be on the guard. So during the time of Uthman Ghani, there were some people, who were very discontent, and they were coming from far off, from Egypt and all those places which had accepted Islam, and they were not good, they were not complete Muslims, right? Means you accepted Shahada, but Islam was still spreading, so the true essence was not there. It was more diluted, correct? So people were still reactive, and the nafs was also reactive. So they came to Uthman Ghani with their grievances, and they had their their Badu nature, the nature where they would just, go for a kill, or, if they get angry, they start beating up people, that kind of thing. Not civilized nature. So they were new Muslims, you could say. And they came and surrounded the house of Uthman Ghani, saying that, we are discontent and this and that. So the point is, Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu, he knew very well that he's going to be shaheed, because he saw in a dream the day before. He was fasting, and he saw in the dream before where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that tomorrow you're going to break fast with me and Abu Bakr and Umar radiallahu anhu. And so Uthman Ghani was expecting, and he was such a golden sahabi that he said, I would not shed blood because somebody's going to kill me. Same like Ali radiallahu anhu. He'd let it happen. And Hazrat Ali was actually, so Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu's house was attacked, and these people, they were called Khawarij, and we'll talk about it. They attacked Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu, and they killed him, shaheed him. But Maula Ali had left Maula Hassan and Hussein for guard in front of the house of, doorsteps of Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu. Right, so they had such a close bond, right? Maula Ali told Maula Hassan and Hussein that make sure that you stay guard all the time. And they had left the place only for a few minutes when they attacked. They were, because they knew when Maula Hassan and Hussein are guard, you can't do anything. When both of the brothers left for a few minutes, these Khawarij attacked Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu, and they shaheed him. By the time they came back, they were behind the crowd, and they could see attack was going. They couldn't do anything. And Maula Ali was so angry at his sons, Maula Hassan and Hussein, then he rebuked them, and it like spanking the children. He said, how can you be so, I gave you such a huge duty, and you guys just left for a few minutes, both of them together. How can you do that? As a father, right? Can you imagine Maula Ali being the father, right? How perfection he expects. So the point is, Maula Ali was so disturbed when this happened, right? And the reason I'm saying all this thing, because Maula Ali was later on blamed by the propaganda of Muawiyah and Abu Huraira and all these people, that he had something to do with the death of Uthman Ghani, so that he can become the Khalifa faster, in Auzubillah. Okay, so finally Maula Ali becomes the Khalifa after Uthman al-Ghani radiallahu anhu's shahadat. But Khawarij who murdered Uthman Ghani and the Muslims of Medina, they clashed with each other, because the Muslims of Medina said, how can you kill the pious companion of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam who was married to two of his daughters, right? And the latter, the Muslims of Medina, they wanted immediate justice. Okay, so this was an emotional state, right? People are emotional about it and said, oh, we need justice because, you know, what happened, but we need justice now. Because justice was always very upright in Islamic state, you know, the new Islamic state. So whether it was a time of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Bakr Siddiq radiallahu, Umar bin Khattab radiallahu, Uthman Ghani radiallahu, justice was always swift. But now with Maula Ali, you can imagine what he's facing, right? If he gives immediate justice, and you know he takes account 15 people, 20 people, and he kills them, then he has to make sure that the people in Medina themselves are protected from all these tribes who are coming from this far off land. So it could become, you know, out of control in no time. So Maula Ali, in his own wisdom, right, he said he doesn't want to do a hasty decision. Okay, and which is very understandable, right? And that is where the issue fitna started. You know, during the time of Uthman Ghani, and again you need to know that the Islamic empire had, you know, grown vast during the time of Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu. So the more it becomes vast, you know, anything which becomes big, right, whether it's a big corporation or anything, control becomes a little loose. You know, when you're a small company, you can manage it much better. When it becomes big, structure has to be in place. But again, there could be things which the business units, for example, today's corporate world, you could say business units doing bad and some doing really great. So, you know, you always have to be on the guard. So during the time of Uthman Ghani, there were some people, you know, who were very discontent, and they were coming from far off, from Egypt and all those places which had accepted Islam, and they were not good, you know, they were not complete Muslims, right? Means you accepted Shahada, but you know, Islam was still spreading, so the true essence was not there. It was more diluted, correct? So people were still reactive, you know, and the nafs was also reactive. So they came to Uthman Ghani with their grievances, and they had their, you know, their Badu nature, you know, the nature where they would just, you know, go for a kill, or, you know, if they get angry, they start beating up people, that kind of thing. You know, not civilized nature. So they were new Muslims, you could say. And they came and surrounded the house of Uthman Ghani, saying that, you know, we are discontent and this and that. So the point is, Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu, he knew very well that he's going to be shaheed, because he saw in a dream the day before. He was fasting, and he saw in the dream before where Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that tomorrow you're going to break fast with me and Abu Bakr and Umar radiallahu anhu. And so Uthman Ghani was expecting, and he was such a golden Sahabi that he said, I would not shed blood because somebody's going to kill me. Same like Ali radiallahu anhu. He'd let it happen. And Hazrat Ali was actually, you know, so Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu's house was attacked, and these people, they were called Khawarij, and we'll talk about it. They attacked Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu, and they killed him, shaheed him. But Maula Ali had left Maula Hassan and Hussein for guard in front of the house of, you know, doorsteps of Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu. Right, so they had such a close bond, right? Maula Ali told Maula Hassan and Hussein that, you know, make sure that you stay guard all the time. And they had left the place only for a few minutes when they attacked. They were, because they knew when Maula Hassan and Hussein are guard, you can't do anything. When both of the brothers left for a few minutes, these Khawarij attacked Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu, and they shaheed him. By the time they came back, they were behind the crowd, and they could see attack was going. They couldn't do anything. And Maula Ali was so angry at his sons, Maula Hassan and Hussein, then he rebuked them, and, you know, it like spanking the children. He said, how can you be so, you know, I gave you such a huge duty, and you guys just left for a few minutes, both of them together. How can you do that? As a father, right? Can you imagine Maula Ali being the father, right? You know, how perfection he expects. So the point is, Maula Ali was so disturbed when this happened, right? And the reason I'm saying all this thing, because Maula Ali was later on blamed by the propaganda of Muawiyah and Abu Huraira and all these people, that he had something to do with the death of Uthman Ghani, so that he can become the Khalifa faster, in Auzubillah. Okay, so finally Maula Ali becomes the Khalifa after Uthman al-Ghani radiallahu anhu's shahadat. But the Khawarij who murdered Uthman Ghani and the Muslims of Medina, they clashed with each other, because the Muslims of Medina said, how can you kill the pious companion of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam who was married to two of his daughters, right? And the latter, the Muslims of Medina, they wanted immediate justice. Okay, so this was an emotional state, right? People are emotional about it and said, "Oh, we need justice because what happened happened, but we need justice now," because justice was always very upright in Islamic state, the new Islamic state. So whether it was a time of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu, justice was always swift. But now with Maula Ali, you can imagine what he's facing, right? If he gives immediate justice, and he takes account 15 people, 20 people, and he kills them, then he has to make sure that the people in Medina themselves are protected from all these tribes who are coming from this far off land. So it could become out of control in no time. So Maula Ali, in his own wisdom, right, he said he doesn't want to do a hasty decision. Okay, and which is very understandable, right? And that is where the issue fitna started. And this is the blessed grave of Uthman Ghani. There was a beautiful, dome and everything. I don't even have to tell you who destroyed all these things, right? You know this, right? So they destroyed because bidda and shirk is happening here in Auzubillah. Okay, so Battle of Jamal. Battle of Jamal was fought between Maula Ali and Aisha. That is what we are told. But this is not, and that is the reason we say, oh, the Sahabis fought Sahabis, so you should not talk about it. I want to bring it out because, brothers and sisters, we need to look at it much deeper. Aisha radiallahu anha was pulled into the fitna because she, being a woman, she'll get emotional faster, right? Filled with fitna, and the first civil war of the new Islamic community happened. Hazrat Talha and Hazrat Zubair, they were Sahabis who led the propaganda war against Maula Ali. And they were pressurizing him to take revenge on the killers of Uthman al-Ghani radiallahu anhu. Maula Ali reminded Talha and Zubair, Hazrat Talha and Zubair, of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's prophecy and said, who Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, and this is what it is, Man kuntum Maula fa Hada Aliun Maula, right? And he said, Ali is always going to be on the haqq, so make sure you be with him. Now, rebels created confusion and the battle happened because, there were a sect of Muslims who wanted revenge and there were rebels, and all together, Aisha somehow got pulled into this and she left the house. And this is Hadith of Huzur Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam where he prophesied. He said, one of my wives will step out of the house and that will create a huge fitna. And Aisha, after all the battle was over, she still remembered. She said she wished she was dead before this the happening of this Battle of Jamal, and actually desired that she wouldn't be present for that event. But Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam prophesied that one of his wives would step out of the house, and she walked towards the fitna. She walked and she got pulled into the fitna, right? And there was no battle between Aisha or Maula Ali. The Khawarij actually, who killed Hazrat Usman, they actually created the situation by killing some soldiers on either side and creating the fitna, and then the started against the Muslims against Muslims. Now we go into that is Jang-e-Jamal. Okay, this is between Maula Ali and supposed to be with Aisha, which is not true. Okay, she just got pulled into it. 7,000 Sahabas lost lives. Maula Ali, finally, the battle was subdued by Maula Ali's forces. They forgive, and most of the people who died in the battle who were with Aisha. Maula Ali's very few, Sahabas were shaheed. Maula Ali forgave Aisha and sent her back with all honor as the widow of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, as Ummahatul Mu'minin. Okay, so you need to understand that Aisha, the purest of the pure mothers, even she, for a moment, right, she was caught up into this fitna. Again, the question comes in the topic of the presentation: Man kuntum Maula fa Hada Aliun Maula. For whom Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, for whom I am the Maula, for that person Ali is also the Maula. Maula means the leader. For whom I am the leader, Ali is also the leader. So what happened here? Nobody gave time for Maula Ali to take a step back and decide. They were all in haste. And this is one of the reasons, brothers, if you look at the Khilafat of Maula Ali, it was one of the toughest Khilafat, because Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam prophesied that this is the Khilafat will be up to Maula Ali, and Hazrat Hassan was only there for 6 months. After that, it is going to be all kingship and all that he said, right? But the point is that Maula Ali is going to face the brunt, because that is where everything will start falling apart. It started falling apart, literally halfway into Uthman al-Ghani radiallahu anhu's period. But by the time Maula Ali was there, he was managing a chaos or a crisis mode. Ummah was in crisis mode at that time, right? So the point is that the curse and the Khilafat of Maula Ali, the curse of the division of the Ummah, the last of the Khulafa Rashidin. So for sure the decay of the political situation has to happen, and most difficult circumstances Maula Ali had to face. And Maula Hassan was there only for 6 months, completing 30 years of rightly guided rule, Khulafa Rashidin, after which kingship started with the truce of Muawiyah with Maula Hassan. Okay, and that is the going from Khilafat into to the kingship, right? And that is where the Khilafat is now mixed with misguidance of kingship, and the purity is lost there. Okay. Battle of Siffin. This is the battle between Maula Ali and Muawiyah. This is a direct battle between the two. Okay. Now let's look at Mr. Muawiyah. The son of Abu Sufyan and Hind. Very, very important. You need to see lineage, where you come from. Okay, he was definitely one of the best Sahabis and all that during the time of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. When Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu went to Jerusalem, the Muawiyah radiallahu, you can say Muawiyah radiallahu anhu till that time. I would say that he was one of the Sahabis who accompanied Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu when they reached the walls of Jerusalem. He was with them. But by the time Maula Ali, the years have passed away, and then now maybe I can also become a Khalifa. The dunya seeps in, right? Dunya slowly starts catching up to you, right? Well, I'm also growing old. Maybe I should also become Khalifa. So maybe I can do a better job than Maula Ali. That is how it started. Muawiyah, his cousin was Uthman al-Ghani. And so his brother, cousin brother, blood, all that, right? So I need vengeance, I want to avenge the death of my family. For him, that is a priority number one. Not the unity of the ummah, or not trying to support the Khalifa in what he's doing, but I want to avenge my my cousin brother's death because he's part of the family. That kind of, stupidity and darkness, it descended on Muawiyah. Bani Umayyad, Abu Sufyan clan, that they were always behind power. Even after the Fateh Makkah, the loss of Makkah to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the Sahabis, same thing happened, right? In Abu Sufyan, he accepted Islam, at the last moment, because and his wife also did the same thing. So one of the Sufi explanation, of why Hind, his wife, Abu Sufyan's wife, accepted Islam is she actually chewed the liver of Hamza radiallahu anhu. Now Hamza radiallahu anhu is a Mu'min, right? He's a Sahabi, the golden Sahabi. His every cell in his body is full of Iman. So the moment Hind chewed the liver of Hamza radiallahu anhu, that pure flesh and the pure blood of Hamza radiallahu anhu went into Hind's body. Because of that, she got the taste of Iman, and that's how she accepted Islam. That is what the Sufi explanation is. Otherwise, she would have never accepted Islam. You get what I'm saying? Because she chewed the liver of Hamza radiallahu anhu. Means Hamza radiallahu anhu's every cell in the body is pure Islam. So when she chewed it, that pure blood and meat went into her intestine, and now that is like a radioactive thing, right? Where radioactive metal, anything where it's kept, it changes every metal around it. Similarly, Sufi explanation of Hind accepting Islam. Again, could be political reasons, not from the heart, because Hind's grandson is Yazid, right, who butchered Maula Hussein and the 18 children of Fatima, right? So Maula Hassan, again, Maula Ali defeated Muawiyah in the battle. It is a long battle, as prophesied by Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He prophesied that battle. So Muawiyah, if he had any clue that who Maula Ali was, the formless state, forget it. even the form state. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam prophesies that there will be two groups. Maula Ali will be on the one side and the other group of Muslims. He said Maula Ali will be on Haqq. Mr. Muawiyah was against it, right? So I don't know at that point whether I can still keep calling him radiyallahu anhu. I don't know. Okay. Now, question: Man kuntum Maula fa Hada Aliun Maula. This is the important warning, which Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave after Hajjatul Wida to the Muslims. That don't forget who Maula Ali is. And this is what they did. Let's keep going. So treachery. So what happens? Maula Ali's forces on the Jang-e-Siffin, they are winning the battle. Next day is going to be the final day. Muawiyah's army is completely, defeated. So what Muawiyah says, he takes the printed Quran. The printed Quran is one of the biggest problems. Today, unfortunately, we are 1400 years past, so we need to have some book in some form. Otherwise, it will not be pure. So he took the printed Quran and put it on the spears. It was a gimmick of using. So the next day, when the two armies of Maula Ali and Muawiyah, they faced each other. On the Muawiyah side, they had the Quran on the spears, and Maula Ali's forces said, "How can we attack these forces where they have spears on them? Spears with Quran on them. Quran is so pure." And Maula Ali said, "That is just a gimmick. Go attack them and finish them off." And they were so confused they didn't want to listen. And that is how how there was a truce which happened. A truce which was because of the cunningness of Muawiyah of bringing the Quran as a emotional tool to blackmail the Muslims. If there was a real battle happen, he would be finished on that day, right? But again, that is what the leaders do, right? If they are cunning, they want to hold on to power, so they will do whatever they want to. So Quran was used as a tool, and the soldiers of Maula Ali refused. They were confused. They don't know what to do. The Quran is going to be disrespected if we start battling, and it's going to fall on the battlefield, and we're going to stamp on it, and all that kind of thing. So again, Uwais al-Qarni radiallahu anhu, he is one of the golden, followers who never saw Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, but Maula Ali had a very high status for Uwais al-Qarni radiallahu anhu, because when Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was in his last moments, he gave his cloak to Maula Ali and to Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu and told them that once I pass away, take this cloak to Uwais al-Qarni in Yemen radiallahu anhu and ask him to make dua for my ummat, which he did. So Maula Ali, on the day before the Jang-e-Siffin, the Battle of Siffin, all his army is sitting waiting for the battle to happen, and Maula is watching towards the horizon, and here's an old man coming on a very donkey, and this old man is so thin and lanky, and Maula Ali looks at the old man coming from the horizon. He's completely joyous. And the Sahabas asked, "Who is this person? You've been waiting for a long time. The whole army is here." So no, that's Uwais al-Qarni. He is equal to 1,000 men. Ya Allah. The Iman of Uwais al-Qarni radiallahu anhu is equal to 1,000 men. And he joined Maula Ali against Muawiyah. And he was shaheed in that battle. So I'm just telling you how much haqq was there on Maula Ali's side. The committee of reconciliation was set up for 6 months. No result happened. Discussion and discussion and discussion. You know how it happens, right? Khawarij, those people, again, who killed Uthman al-Ghani, they were another third group sitting there. And they said, you know what? We don't need Maula Ali or we don't need Muawiyah. This ummah of Muslims, I think we understand Islam very well. Let's create our own leader now. Let's kill both of them. That's what they said. So the Khawarij, Ibn Muljim was one of them who went to the Masjid al-Kufa and he shaheed Maula Ali. When he was on sujood, he struck him with a sword and he on his head, and then he was shaheed. And there was an attack which was said by on Muawiyah also. Now there is another riwayah. I don't know how much truth is in there because these are all old stuff. That the propaganda, there was a negative propaganda which was initiated by Muawiyah, which helped in the Khawarij to Shaheed Maula Ali. But what the history says is that Muawiyah was also attacked by the Khawarij and he escaped. Uh, okay, but Maula Ali was Shaheed. So finally, when Maula Ali was Shaheed, Maula Hassan became the next Khalifa. But that was only for 6 months because Mr. Muawiyah already wanted the Khilafat, and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam again prophesied that my son Hassan will for the sake of to reduce the bloodshed of the ummah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he will step down, and then he gave the bayah to Muawiyah. Now his bayah is not, you have to understand, Maula Hassan is the blessed child of elder son of Maula Ali and Ummah Fatima Talana. His bayah is not the bayah of spiritual allegiance. It is a bayah to so that the bloodshed stops. From Uthman al-Ghani, from Maula Ali, so much of bloodshed has happened, right? Confusion. So he wanted to stop that so that the Muslim ummah can get back to senses. So he gave the bayah. Condition was that after the death of Muawiyah, that the Khilafat will go back to election mode. Very important, brothers and sisters. In between, Maula Hassan was Shaheed by his wife. He was poisoned. Some of them said that Muawiyah, basically bribed her and said he will give her a lot of wealth and get her married to one of her sons, and one of the wives of Maula Hassan poisoned him and he passed away. Now, when Muawiyah finally, towards his end of his times, after his Khilafat ran for a long time, Maula Hussein was in Medina. Right now, if Muawiyah was an honest guy, he would go back to the treaty that he signed with Maula Hassan, saying that once my death is over, it will go back to election mode. Guess what he did? He made the excuse that the treaty was with Maula Hassan, and Maula Hassan is no more, so the treaty is void. The person who died, the treaty is no more, so the treaty is void. So he did not even consider Maula Hussein to talk to Maula Hussein, Muawiyah. So that is the treachery that he did, because the father to son, the blood relation, and here is the drunkard and the womanizer and the wretched of the wretched, the worst of the worst human beings. He becomes the Khalifa after Mr. Muawiyah's demise. Finally, when Maula Ali was Shaheed, Maula Hassan became the next Khalifa, but that was only for 6 months because Mr. Muawiyah already wanted the Khilafat, and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam again prophesied that my son Hassan will, for the sake of to reduce the bloodshed of the ummah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he will step down, and then he gave the bayah to Muawiyah. Now his bayah is not, you have to understand, Maula Hassan is the blessed child of elder son of Maula Ali and Ummah Fatima Talana. His bayah is not the bayah of spiritual allegiance. It is a bayah to so that the bloodshed stops. From Uthman al-Ghani, from Maula Ali, so much of bloodshed has happened, right? Confusion. So he wanted to stop that so that the Muslim ummah can get back to senses. So he gave the bayah. Condition was that after the death of Muawiyah, that the Khilafat will go back to election mode. Very important, brothers and sisters. In between, Maula Hassan was Shaheed by his wife. He was poisoned. Some of them said that Muawiyah, basically bribed her and said he will give her a lot of wealth and get her married to one of her sons, and one of the wives of Maula Hassan poisoned him and he passed away. Now, when Muawiyah finally, towards his end of his times, after his Khilafat ran for a long time, Maula Hussein was in Medina. Right now, if Muawiyah was an honest guy, he would go back to the treaty that he signed with Maula Hassan, saying that once my death is over, it will go back to election mode. Guess what he did? He made the excuse that the treaty was with Maula Hassan, and Maula Hassan is no more, so the treaty is void. The person who died, the treaty is no more, so the treaty is void. So he did not even consider Maula Hussein to talk to Maula Hussein, Muawiyah. So that is the treachery that he did, because the father to son, the blood relation, and here is the drunkard and the womanizer and the wretched of the wretched, the worst of the worst human beings. He becomes the Khalifa after Mr. Muawiyah's demise. Finally, brothers and sisters, Battle of Karbala, I have covered that in Fanaf Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam topic, right? Where Maula Hussein is Shaheed at Karbala. 18 of the grandchildren of Ummah Fatima Talana was hacked and minced to death. Maula Hussein, even during the, before the battle, he kept on negotiating with them because he did not want to give bayah to this drunken womanizer, because he said, what, let me move out, and we talked about that in detail in the Fanaf Rasul. He said, let me migrate. And one of the two, Hazrat Abu Fadlil Abbas radiallahu anhu, who is the Banin's son, he said that, Maula Hussein discussed with him, said, let's either migrate to Rome or Al-Hind. Think about it, two countries, to the Christian world or to the Al-Hind, to where the Hindus are living. They still have humanity in them. So within a period of around 60 years, after Hijrah, total barbarism had descended there. Anarchy has descended there. And pure Islam was in trouble. No sign of pure Islam. Everything is gone. So what you have is Quran in text form now. To the point that, brothers and sisters, I want to make this, I don't know whether I've said this before. There were 1,000 Hafiz-e-Quran in 22,000 soldiers of Yazid's army who were fighting the 72 to 80 followers of Maula Hussein. 1,000 Hafiz-e-Quran, 600 muftis were there. How many? 600 muftis were there in the camp of Yazid. I am asking you this question. What Quran and Hadith are these people following that they didn't even know the truth of Maula Hussein? There were so many Hadiths about Maula Hussein, about the Battle of Karbala, but Sallallahu has prophesied. My point, brothers and sisters, Mr. Abu Huraira did a fantastic job. Mr. Muawiyah did a fantastic job. To the point that there was a hadith of Rasulullah Sallallahu which you all must have heard, that relation between me and Ali is like between Musa and Harun. And one of the Sahabas who heard this hadith firsthand, he got a visitor one day. Another Sahaba who came to this Sahaba who had heard about this hadith, that relation between Rasulullah Sallallahu and Maula Ali is equal to the relation of Hazrat Musa Wasallam and Hazrat Harun Wasallam, brothers to each other. He said, did this hadith really happen? He said, why? He said, there's so much of negative propaganda that Muawiyah has created against Maula Ali that his name is no more there. People are talking negative about him. Brothers, this happened with the Sahabas. Confusion at the time of the Sahabas. Think about it. So this is the amount of negative propaganda against Maula Ali. I don't think you would be surprised now why Maula Ali is not talked about today much. And these poor Shia brothers who try to talk something, they are like, these people are out of Islam. Come on. Maybe there is some, and there is a frustration there, right? Because, most of the Shias are in Iraq and Iran places, right? Because, all the fitna happened there, Karbala happened there. These people, saw Maula Hussein being hacked to death, right? So there's a lot of guilt in the Muslims of that today, that, the blood of Maula Hussein was spilled there. So, and definitely, they were now so, they had so much of remorse in them that, they were against everybody. And Shia means helpers. Helpers of who? Helpers of Ahlul Bayt. Okay, the word Shia means helpers. So that's what happened. And even till today we are suffering, right? So my point is, let's look at everything openly, right? Let's not, say Shias are out of Islam and Sunnis, forget it. What Sunni Shia are talking about. There are either lovers of Ahlul Bayt or no lovers of Ahlul Bayt. Simple as that. I have only two sects now. So, and the gift that Rasulullah Sallallahu brought to humanity, the Islam, pure Islam, at the time of Kali Yuga. There are different yugas, and I didn't want to bring it up. It'll take more time. The Sati Yuga, the Treta Yuga, the Dwapar Yuga, Kali Yuga. These are in the Upanishad and Vedas. The oldest revelations which came, 12,000 BC. You're talking about 12,000 BC. Okay, the Quran came in 600, right? AD. So approximately 12,500 BC, the Upanishad, Vedas, and all these things were revealed, and and that the different yugas and the times were all revealed. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam came as Kalki Avatar. Kalki Avatar is somebody who the manifestation of the pure soul, the universal soul of Allah. They call it avatar, means at the purest form coming in. And then the Karbala, which is happening at the lowest of the low of the human civilization. What Maula Hussein and the Fatima radiallahu anha's children went through, I don't think any other battlefield has seen that. That's how bad it was. So just want to touch on this. The Maula Hussein, before the night he left Madinah Munawwara to Karbala, he went to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to his grave, and he communicated with his grandfather. He said, I'm being pressurized to make bayah to Yazid and in Medina, and just open up the grave and just take me in. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told Maula Hussein to go to Karbala. He knew the son is going to be Shaheed for sure. He knew it during his Nabuwat. He knew it when he was alive. But he said, go to Karbala, because he said, you will uphold the truth at the highest level. And the heart of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is Maula Hussein, brothers and sisters. The heart of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is Maula Hussein. He paid the price. Maula Hussein paid the price of the Nabuwat of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And he said, go, because Allah has got a very high status, to the point that it is said that when Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ sacrificed Ismail ﷺ, for every drop of tear that a Muslim sheds thinking about Karbala, for every drop of tear that a Muslim sheds thinking about Karbala, for the love of Maula Hussein and his followers, Allah will give him the reward of Ismail ﷺ's Qurbani by Ibrahim ﷺ. So if my Shia brothers are crying on the day of Muharram, mashallah, they are getting so much of sawab. Okay. And there are this Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they will talk about Ashura on those days, how the Jews were liberated from the Pharaoh. I never seen, there may be very few masajid, Sunni masajid, which talk about it. If you talk about it today, the propaganda war is great. You know what it is? You talk about Ahlul Bayt, you talk about Karbala. Oh, are you a Shia? Oh, he's out of, So it's an abuse now. Literally, talking about Maula Hassan, Hussein, Maula Ali, you will get abused. That is what our Islam has come down to. Again, questioning, Man Kuntum Maula, Hada, Aliun Maula. The important warning of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Let's keep going. Again, today's Islam propaganda war, right? The madrasa and its byproducts, the imams and the muftis and all these people. The greatest deceit of mankind, who has taken all these important events from the books. It is not even discussed in Islamic lectures and this and that. The Hadith and Quran are mentioned, right? How to be a good Muslim. Now, what are the Khawarij? These are the Khawarij, actually, who hide all these things. He started at the time of Uthman al-Ghani radiallahu anhu. Is another conspiracy to hide the truth. Systematic separation of Ahlul Bayt and to decrease the importance of them from the Islamic history. Demolition of the graves of Jannatul Baqi and elsewhere. Again, you know what? Completely annihilate them. Because now we have the Hadith and the Quran. It's the same thing that the Jews did, right? Now we have the Torah. So Isa alayhi salatu wasalam came, Maryam's pure son, the virgin mother, and said, oh, Innauzubillah, he's a bastard. Innauzubillah. Because we have the Torah with us. Great. So that's what the Muslims have done. Rasulullah's hadith that the Jews and the Christians will go into a lizard's hole and the Muslims of my ummah will go. Not all of them, brother. I am not going to go there into the lizard's hole. Anybody else wants to go, they can go. I'm at the feet of Maula Ali, Maula Hassan, Maula Hussein, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Ahlul Bayt. That is where I go. Right? Not to the feet, to the hole of the lizard that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam talked about. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has been brought down to a postman in Auschwitz who delivered the Quran and the Hadith, and now you can go back. We'll take care of the rest, right? We are in control. So the mundane faith, the love that the Sahabas had for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Ahlul Bayt. So when I look at today's mainstream Islam, brothers, the last line on this slide, I think it is mentally retarded form of Islam. Okay, and now I think you understand why I say that. Question to the listener again. I think we talked about it. Did you hear all this for the first time? All this that we talked, it's nearly 3 hours now, brothers and sisters. Did you hear this for the first time? And that I won't be surprised. And if you heard it, what do you think? With this Aqidah, I will be labeled as a Shia. Can I give Juma khutbah about this? What do you think my standing is going to be in the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama world? Taboo to talk about these issues. I have the Quran and the Hadith, so why do I need to understand these issues? Question to the listener, right? Do these events and condition of my heart has anything to do with my qurb to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and puts his intercession on the day of judgment for me at risk based on my stand? That is a bigger question. Have I been taken for a ride till today and by the present day alims, the coward scholars and the preachers of Islam? I would say that. They have no guts. They want their job and their money. What is their agenda? When we are taught not to discuss about Battle of Siffin with Muawiyah, Battle of Jamal, where Aisha got involved in Nauzubillah. Poor mother, she got involved for the wrong reason. Or Battle of Karbala, where Maula Hussein and his followers were hacked to death. And I'm so naive to understand what's happening. End result, my understanding is incomplete, my faith is incomplete, my iman is incomplete because I am running behind the dunya. So brothers and sisters, if you have listening for this for the first time, and if it is 3 hours, right, I think it's still okay, right? You understand the magnitude of what we covered. Make dua for me. I've been sitting on this for 3 hours. Let me keep going, try to finish it. Okay, now this hadith, it's a very the hadith which the Shia brothers and Sunni brothers quote, and there is differences here. I am leaving behind you 2 weighty things. You'll see, go and look at it. It's available everywhere. If you keep attached to them firmly after me, you'll never go astray. One is the Quran, and the other one is my descendants, the Ahlul Bayt. The Sunnis say this is the Sunnah, and the Shia brothers say it is the Ahlul Bayt. Actually, it is the both, right? The Sunnah, which is the way of life of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and my Ahlul Bayt. The reality is both are inclusive. This is what I talked to some Sunni scholars who are part of Tariqah. They said, it is inclusive of the Ahlul Bayt and the Sunnah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the Quran itself. So what has happened today, the Ahlul Bayt has been completely removed, right? They have been sidetracked because you have all these great dictator rulers of the Ummah now, they're running, countries and using the resources for Muslims for their own benefits, for building palaces and fighting wars and ego battles, right? So the Muslims of today are like, the beggars of the world, right? The downtrodden beggars of the world. And with that iman, you're still going for Juma and listening to this crap khutbas, right? Some hadith, some Quran, right? Like when you go and get a dish, like when you add some spices on top of it, that is how they talk about their crap, and then they put some hadith and Quran, some in interpretation as some spices, on some salads, and then that's it. They're given to you, and you eat it and say, "MashaAllah, it's my Islam." Today's Muslims, they question the faith of Ummah Amina, the blessed mother of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They question the faith of Ummah Amina. I covered this thing in Fanafi Rasul presentation, brothers and sisters. Abba Abdullah is questioned, okay, because he passed away. Both Ummah Amina and Abba Abdullah, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's father, passed away before the declaration of the Nabuwat of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Nauzubillah, right? When Adam alayhi salatu wasalam made tawbah, he was shown the arsh of Allah, and on the arsh it was written, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? So Maula Ali is rarely mentioned in Islamic centers. Mostly Abu Bakr Siddiq, some part of Umar bin Khattab, sprinkled with some hadith and Quran with some incomplete interpretations, Great, that is my Islam today. Karbala, if talked about, is mentioned like the Battle of Jamal or Siffin as political wars associated with power and money. Or you are a Shia who is not in the mainstream Islam, in Auzubillah, taboo. So stay in the good books of the Muslims of today, otherwise you will be labeled. Fatwas will be raised against you. So be careful, brothers. You know, maybe I'll have some fatwas soon on my head too, which is great. Alhamdulillah, I'll accept it. MashaAllah. For the law of Ahlul Bayt, some negative fatwas is going to be the feather in my cap. I'll wait for that. Now, who are the Khawarij? Quickly, the Khawarij. Why I'm saying bring this, because you have to identify the Khawarij of today. It is not the Khawarij of that time. During the reign of Uthman al-Ghani, Khawarij came forth from different regions with grievances, united with the guise of promoting virtue and preventing vice. Think about it. You must have heard it somewhere. Until they stormed Medina, assassinated rightly guarded Khalifa Uthman al-Ghani. The companions who were present in Medina Munawwara tried to repel, but they were overwhelmed by the army of the enemies. Right. The Khawarij then rebelled against Maula Ali, branding him as illegitimate Khalif. Their mantra was, there is no rule save the rule of Allah. And Maula Ali heard about that, and he said the statement is true, but what is intended is falsehood. This is what Maula Ali said. What is intended is fitna. Okay, this is a Khawarij. So why I'm put this slide is, think about it, who talks about this nowadays. However, and with the help of the majority of companions, Maula Ali put all his efforts and resources fighting the Khawarij and warding off the evil. He did that. He, with his Zulfikar, which still remains as a sword which fights in the spiritual world, not in the material world, but in the spiritual world. The Khawarij will support the Dajjal. This is very important. Why I brought this? Will support the Dajjal when he emerges. And hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he emerges, Dajjal comes, right? So, which means even though they are not named Khawarij, they still exist. They are in mainstream Muslims now. So you have to have the divine analytical wisdom to understand who are these people. They may be in your masajid, right? They may be saying salam alaikum to you. You need to understand who they are. So otherwise you don't understand. You have to go into this journey and try to go deeper so that your iman and their iman are not the same. Otherwise you're in trouble, right? Hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was a spoil of war. There was in Medina Munawwara, there was a lot of male ganimat. A war had come. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was distributing money and goods to different families. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had ilmul ghaib knowledge, so he was giving it to the families based on whatever he felt was the necessity. Now, one of these guys, these Khawarij, who is like, what is it written on the top there? They will preventing vice and enjoining virtue. He went and lectured to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Nauzubillah. He said, Ya Rasulullah, be fair. Because he saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam giving one family little more compared to the other. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam knows the need of this family, the spiritual, the batin, every need. So he gave them the spoils of the war based on what the family's need was. This guy was thinking that, everybody has to be given equally. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam doesn't have to do that. He's the most just. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked this guy who questioned Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that, Ya Rasulullah, be just in Auzubillah. He said, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked him, if I am not going to be just, then this guy goes into Masjid Nabi to pray. To the audacity, right? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says to Abu Bakr Siddiq, Ya Abu Bakr, go and kill him. Finish him off. Abu Bakr Siddiq goes inside and says, oh, Ya Rasulullah, he's tied his hand and he's in prayer. Then he sees Umar. He says, Umar, go and kill him. Umar bin Khattab then goes inside. Or he finds him in sujood. Oh, mashallah, he's praying like a bloody donkey. He has just made, disrespect Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he's praying to Allah. Think about the combination. You'll find such clowns here today also. They will make fun of Ahlul Bayt. They'll make despise the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They will not give him the honor that he deserves or his family deserves, and they'll pray like a donkey. He's bowing his head, sujood and ruku and all that is going on. Umar bin Khattab says, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is in sujood. How can I kill him when in sujood? Maula Ali comes in, says, Ali, go and kill him. Maula Ali goes inside. He's not there. He's gone. Maula Ali says, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I didn't find him. He's gone. He told Maula Ali, Ali, if you had found him, you would have killed him. Think about it. The understanding between Maula Ali and he would have not come back and said, he is in sujood or he's standing in prayer. No, he would have killed him. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told all the three Sahabis, Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, Abu Bakr Siddiq and Maula Ali, that don't think he's just one individual. A huge following will be there. They will have huge beards and they will look like Muslims. They'll recite the Quran, but their recitation will not go below their throats. No understanding, no wisdom, because the source of wisdom is who? Maula Ali. They will despise Maula Ali. So no wisdom will be given to them by Allah. They will have their own interpretation of the Quran and the Hadith, and which has created all the fitna for the Muslim ummah. To the Muslims say, you know, kill Hindus, kill Jews, kill Christians. Come on. They were all at that particular time. And you have the ISIS, you have all this, you know, the Al-Qaeda's and Daesh and all this crap. Where is it coming from? This is the Khawarij, brothers and sisters. Okay. And you know where the petrodollars are coming from, so I don't have to tell you that. Scary analysis, brothers and sisters. We come back to this question that we started. Man kuntum Maula fa Hada Aliun Maula. For whom I am the Maula, Ali is his Maula. Now I'm going to reverse this thing. The Hadith I'm going to reverse. Bigger issue is, if in your life, before you heard this presentation, Ali was not your Maula, then brothers and sisters, be honest to say that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam till today was not my Maula either. That is the scary part. Okay. Do I love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and family more than my own self? This hadith is also very important. One who loves Ali is a mu'min. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, and one who has hatred towards Ali is a munafiq. Munafiqiyat is so difficult, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. It's very difficult. So if I'm afraid to talk about these things in the presentation and thinking that if I talk about Maula Ali, Maula Hassan, Maula Hussein, Karbala, I will be labeled as a Shia, I am a munafiq. Because for me, the standing of the status of the society, all this crap is more important to me. What happens to the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam resonating in the universe till the day of judgment? Questioning my sincerity and my belief. Is it time for introspection? Deep introspection. That's the question I'm asking. Quickly, you know, I've been asked this question before in other presentations when Fanaf Rasul. Why did Maula Hussein take the women and children to Karbala? He was going for a war. He knew that he's going to be Shaheed. Well, nobody will take their young children, 6-month-old baby to Karbala, right? So to this, you know, the worst of creation. Now you need to understand that Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam, when he built the entire ship, Jibril alayhi salatu wasalam was the architect. Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam helped build it. 950 years Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam was the Nabi. He worked hard for proclaiming the deen of Islam and propagating it. When the entire work of the ship was done, Jibril alayhi salatu wasalam came and said to Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam, you need protection for this ship. So Allah has said to engrave the name of Maula Hassan and Maula Hussein on the hull of the ship, so that your ship will be protected from the strong winds and the flood which is going to engulf the earth. Whose name was engraved? Maula Hassan and Maula Hussein. So brothers and sisters, when the family of Maula Hussein with the family, the little daughter Sakina, the mashallah, the Ahlul Bayt, Ali Asghar, 6-month-old baby of Maula Hussein, all these children, they were in the ship. Even though they were going to Karbala, they were in the ship. That is the beauty of it. When they were with Maula Hussein, they were in the ship. Even though they were going towards the danger, they were being protected. What would have happened if the family were left behind? Brothers and sisters, I don't have to tell you, Yazid, the drunkard, the womanizer, the rapist, the wretched of the wretched, they would have gone to Medina, taken the Sayyids out from the houses and hacked them to death as soon as they would have finished the men off in Karbala. Again, the hikmat of Allah. He needed witnesses what happened there. Zainab radiallahu anha, the most courageous daughter of Maula Ali, or the sister of Maula Hassan and Hussein. She became the witness for the whole war. And she went to the court of Yazid and admonished him in front of thousands of people. And there the revolution started because of her speech. Then Hazrat Zain al-Abidin, Sajjad alayhi salatu wasalam, he also had a speech. He gave khutbah. And finally they had to release the prisoners of war. So if they had not, the women folks had not gone, even though they were humiliated, their niqabs were taken off. Ummah Zainab, or the wives of Maula Hassan, his daughters, they were always in niqab. They covered their faces. It was taken off. Humiliated brothers and sisters. This is what we as the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave back to our Prophet. And they were made to walk from Karbala to Kufa, and from Kufa all the way to Syria, to the wretched palace of Yazid Malhoun, Lanatullah alayh. And today we are Muslims sitting there, and we are praying our namaz and reciting Quran and Hadith. And when the day of Karbala happens, I'm watching my TV, or it is Ashura is happening. The pathetic state that we have come down to. We do a Maulud, recitation of Maulud, glory of Ummah Amina Talana, for the love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, bidda wa shirk. Ummah Khadija's grave destroyed, Ummah Fatima's grave destroyed, Maula Hassan's grave destroyed. You know what? Muslims are proving a point now. Sophisticated. Maula Hussein's final moments, brothers and sisters, when his head was being separated from his body, he remarked that after this, because he let his entire family, go in front of him. If this entire battle of Karbala could have been stopped if Maula Hussein was Shaheed first, but he let, Muhammad and Aliun, which was Ummah Zainab's children, go. They became Shaheed. Then Maula Hassan's son, Qasim radiallahu anhu, he became Shaheed. Maula Hussein's son, Ali Akbar, became Shaheed. Ali Asghar, 6-month-old baby, was Shaheed. Maula Hussein waited and waited. Why? You think he loved his life? That he wanted few more moments in his life? No, he was waiting because he knew very well. The moment they touch Maula Hussein, this ummah will come under the curse. This ummah will be separated into 73 sects. Even though Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam prophesied about this, the Amin was never given. But the day Karbala happened, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said Amin. And this ummah, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam died at the time of a Sakratul Maut of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Ya ummati, Ya ummati, Ya ummati. That ummah, later on at the time of Karbala, few years later, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave the okay that this ummah, after the shahadat of Maula Hussein, separated into 73 sects. So now I have to question myself, what is my La ilaha illallah Muhammad Mustafa Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Is that the Islam that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam expects from me? Question. The reason I'm saying is, it was the day before Karbala happened, and Ali Akbar was with Maula Hussein, and it was the time of Zohar prayer. Ali Akbar, the son of Maula Hussein, 18-year-old beautiful son of Maula Hussein, heard the call of prayer from the 1,000 Hafiz-e-Quran and the 600 muftis from Yazid's camp. The call of prayer, the azan was given. And Ali Akbar, in his innocence, he stood behind his father who was going to lead the prayer and just said the Iqama. So Maula Hussein asked, son, you did not recite the azan, the call of prayer. He said, father, but I heard the azan from the other camp on the opposite side. So Maula Hussein said, no, son, you have to recite the azan again, and then you have to recite the Iqama, and then we can pray. Because you cannot do the prayer behind that azan, because if those people believed in Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, they would not be fighting a war with us right now. Ali Akbar gave the call of prayer, then the Iqama, and then Maula Hussein led the prayer. This is the day before Karbala happened, brothers and sisters. Okay? And this is Maula Hussein, who knew the deen from his grandfather. So Maula Hussein remarked at this last moment when he was passing away as nafse mutmainna. He said, this ummat will never rest in peace after this, after his shahadat, except for those who seek the ultimate truth and follow it. And then we worship, because now you will get into the ship of Maula Hussein if you follow this path, brothers and sisters. The ship which protected Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam's followers. You get into this ship, you will be protected. Let the flood come and go, nothing happened to you. That's the secret, brothers and sisters. Kutub's definition of Iman, right? Whose kalima is it? You see the Noor of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam do the ibadat. Witnessing the kalima through the third eye. The Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam you see through the third eye when the third eye opens up. The lower level of Iman, which is you hear the kalima and you recite it. Most of the people hear the kalima and then you recite it. You don't see the kalima. You have to see the Noor of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam within your own self through the third eye. These are all deep spiritual secrets. For that, you have to see the light of your soul first, and then you see Nur Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam later on when you go to higher levels of meditation. Brothers, this is another quote which I put in. If you're getting the qurb of Allah is one time difficult, getting the qurb of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is 1,000 times difficult, getting the qurb of Maula Ali is 1,000,000 times more difficult. And this was said by Baba Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu, said, a person who understands this path and follows this path, you will find, he said to his children before he left Baba Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu, 1 in a million will follow this path and will be a true mu'min. When you remove all the dirt within you, true Iman will enter into you and you will come into true Iman Islam, which is the peace, and you will receive the wilayat from Maula Ali radiallahu anhu. And you will understand this presentation and what is said here, brothers and sisters. Hajjatul Wida, again quickly, Hajjatul Wida, the entire, we're going back to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's time now, the entire Quran, everything has been revealed, and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has finished, the Hajjatul Wida, and he is coming back, and this verse is being revealed. Al-yawmul akmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati wa raditu lakumul Islam ad-dina. That this day I have perfected your religion of Islam and completed my favor on you, and I have chosen Islam to be a religion. This is in Surah Ma'idah, chapter number 5, ayat number 3, brothers and sisters. And this is when Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is coming from Hajjatul Wida. Okay. Same time, at Ghadir Qawm is a place where it is coming from Makkah towards Madinah Munawwara, and Ghadir Qawm is a village in between. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, at that point he calls all the Sahabas, and they make a podium like a stage kind of thing. And some Sahabas actually had separated; they had gone back to their villages. They were going back to the villages, and Sahabas were sent to bring them back. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said there was an important announcement to be made. And what is the announcement? Man Kuntum Maula fa Hada Aliun Maula. To whom I am the master, the leader, the master, Ali is the master. Brothers and sisters, why do you think, that you just got a revelation saying that your deen has been complete? And this hadith also, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is also telling you at the same time. Is he not telling you that what is going to follow? More newer people have accepted Islam who do not know a lot of truths that the early Sahabas knew, which we are talking about, the formless state of Maula Ali. Think about it, there where the 12-year-old Maula Ali has tied a knot on Shaitan's grandson, all those things. Nobody knows about these things. He has foreseen the fitna that will rise, the 73 sects the Ummah will divide into. And all these things started. Maula Ali was in the center of this whole thing. Maula Hassan, Maula Hussein. So, the blood of the Ahlul Bayt, So think about it. How do you think these sects have happened? Who have taken the brunt of it? Where does the curse come from? Okay, introspection. And this is again this ayat, I have covered it in, I think, Fanafe Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Again, just a quick reminder so that we are complete as far as the presentation is concerned. Zalika alladhi yubashshiru lahu عباد الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات كل يسألكم عليهم أجرا إلا مودة في القربى ومن يقترف حسنات يزيد له fi husnain inna Allah ghafuru shakur. What does it say? That Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is proclaiming, Allah is telling Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to proclaim that I demand from you not any reward for preaching the prophethood, for the mission of Islam, for all the trials and tribulations he's went to, except the muwadda, the love or the kurba for my nearest relatives. Whoever earns that concerning him, that is the love and the kurb for the souls of Maula Ali, Maula Hassan, Maula Hussein, right? Knowing what they sacrificed, what they stood for, and how they affect my life, how I get purified through their love. We increase more for him the goodness therein. Allah is oft forgiving and merciful. That when you start loving muwadda and love for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's closest relatives, Ahlul Bayt, Allah starts forgiving and starts purifying me. And Hadrat Abdullah bin Abbas radiallahu anhu in the riwayat says, Sahaba asked, who was the muwadda, what is wajib on us, and they said the muwadda for who, for wajib on who is Maula Ali, Maula Fatima and her two sons, Maula Hassan and Hussein. This is the hukuk of Rasulullah, the right of Rasulullah. This is all like Rasulullah was expecting from us. With all the slides in between, Jang Siffin, with Muawiyah, with Abu Huraira, with Jang Jamal, and look at the Shahad, the Karbala. Look at what has happened after that. What do you think about this ayat? How much truthful have you been even today in our lifetimes, right? How much can you equate to this ayat of the Quran? Have you paid, inauzubillah, we can never pay the hukuk of Rasulullah, but all he's expecting is your love, sincere love for Maula Hassan, Maula Hussein, Maula Ali and Fatima and the household, and have been able to do that, generate it, at least get the knowledge to understand what they have done for us. Or we are living in the dunya, which will go forever be with us, and we are running around it, and our namaz and the Quran, great things, Hajj and Umrah going on, right? And what is muwadda again? Muwadda, is a type of love, passion, connection, closeness, realization, salvation. To understand and love Maula Ali, who is hidden behind veils, brothers and sisters. It has to be this love has to be bestowed by Allah and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That is how much hidden Maula Ali is. That's the reason you will not find most of the things that is talked in this presentation anywhere else. It took a long time, brothers and sisters, but I have to complete it so that I finish my duty. The salawat on Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. What is the ordinary motivation for doing a salawat on Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? Oh, sawab. You do one salawat, Allah will remove 10 difficulties from your path. This is the sawab. You're doing business with Allah. Or is it to see the blessed face of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the nur of Allah? You go into deeper state of meditative state and recite the salawat, and you start seeing the face of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Or you just recite the salawat and you have it's just empty recitation and no effect on your heart. I want to quickly go through this thing. It's a beautiful thing. I think we are towards the end of it. My experience at the shrine of Maula Hussein at Karbala. Maula Hussein, he called a sinner like me to his blessed grave. And it was morning time, and Iraq is a war-torn country, brothers and sisters. That Saddam Hussein, that dictator and his children, they have tortured the Shia brothers there, the amount of love that I have seen. I come from the Sunni sect. Again, I don't believe in this sects anymore. These are all crap. But just to give you an idea, that I'm not a Shia, so that if people don't look at this as Shia presentation in Auzubillah. That's the reason I'm saying I'm identifying myself, but for me it doesn't matter. But the point is, when I went there, the amount of love they give you. There is no fight, brothers and sisters, between Shia and Sunni. I pray with my hands folded, they pray next to me. There's no fight, brothers and sisters. They love you so much, they respect you so much. There's so much of regard for you. The amount of love I got from Maula Hussein, the kurb I got from Maula Hussein, the kurb of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam I got at Karbala, brothers and sisters. The qalb of Rasulullah is Maula Hussein. I want to tell you something which happened. It touched my heart. It was morning Fajr time and I was going for the ziyarat, and the arrangement there is so fantastic there. You give your shoes and at the counter, and they give you a token number, then you go and come back. And when you come back, they give the token, they give you the shoes back, your mobile phones, everything is taken care perfectly. It's so neat and clean there, mashallah. So much of respect they have. Not like in Madina Munawwara, you go there and stand in front of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you raise your hand, and this bloody stupid, so-called Muslims of there, I don't want to start naming them, they will start saying yalla, yalla, yalla. And Maula Hussein, when I went to the place where I had to go put my shoes there, brothers, I saw a person right in front of me, and he was from Iran, and he took my shoes with so much of respect. And when he was giving the token number, he was giving me with so much of respect. I looked at his eyes, at his sincerity. And I asked him, I had a conversation with him. I said, brother, where are you from? And he happened to know English because he was a professor. He was the PhD holder. He said, I am from Iran. And he spoke English, pretty, okay English to understand. And he said, I am from Iran. And I said, brother, you have so much of love that you're taking my shoes with so much of love and giving it to me. I have never seen somebody honoring my shoes so much. He said, brother, I am doing voluntary service right now at this counter. You are the guest of Maula Hussein. I have to honor you for the love for him. Brothers and sisters, the love that the Iranian brother showed me, I understood what Muadda means, the true love for Ahlul Bayt. That he has this brother giving so much of respect, taking my shoes because I am the guest of Maula Hussein. The love, there is no Shia Sunni there, brother. You go to Madina Munawwara, what happens? The headquarters, you're treated like garbage. I want to touch on this thing. Maula Ali, one time he was during his Khilafat, one of the Khawarij went to him and he made fun of Maula Ali, said, your Khilafat is so bad, everything is tumbling. During the time of Umar, it was so strong. Your Khilafat is tumbling across, making fun of Maula Ali. Look at the amount of torture and the amount of abuse he had to take, brothers and sisters. And Maula Ali said, what, that's true. Because when Umar was the Khalifa, his companions companions were people like me. And when I am the Khalifa, I have companions like you next to me. That's the reason my Khilafat is falling down. Look at his wisdom when he's answering. Maula Ali's place of burial is a secret, brothers and sisters. Because if the Khawarij knew that, even his body would have been taken out from the grave. And Allah, it's in Najaf actually. In Najaf, there is a place where the body disappeared actually. Maula Ali told Hassan and Hussein radiallahu anhu to put the body on a camel and just tell them, let the camel free. And that it went between two mountains in Najaf where the shrine is there, Maula Ali shrine, and it disappeared. The earth opened up and there was light, noor inside, and the grave was already made. It gone inside. So bottom line is that human beings cannot get access to it. Otherwise, these Khawarij would have dug the grave out also. Billah. If these peoples of today can demolish the graves, they can even dig the graves out. Billah. So. Similarly, Nade Ali Mazhar Ajaib Tajdahu aw an laka fi nawaib kullun hammin wa ghammin sayanjali bi azmatika ya Allah bi nabutika ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam bi wilayatika ya Aliyu ya Ali adrikni fi sabilillah Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sayyidina Muhammad wa ajjal farjahum. This is again another a dua for Maula Ali's help in my iman, in my affairs, asking the wisdom of Allah. The 10 parts of which the nur of Allah is split into, and the one of the part is the pen. We talked about the wisdom, that is Maula Ali. MashaAllah, asking help from that nur to set your affairs straight. You can go and look up the meaning of it. I'll complete the presentation. Let me go to the final 2 slides. And food for thought, again, ana madinatul ilmu wa ali babuha, right? Yeah, I'm the city of knowledge and Ali is the gate. Enter into the city, the door is always open for you, brothers. Who wants to enter the door and get purified and attain the intercession of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the day of judgment when there will be no shade? Brothers and sisters, finally I end this presentation. After all these things, 3 hours, 3.5 hours now, there are only true broad divisions in Islam. Those who love Allah, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Sahabas and Ahlul Bayt more than their own soul and existence. And the second sect is those who proclaim their empty love, have the Quran and Hadith with them, do not understand the meaning of true love, and rejecting wisdom. That was what I find these are two broad sections. So I need to make sure that I'm in the first one. Finally, I end this presentation at the blessed grave of Baba Muhyiddin radiallahu, my Sheikh, who has opened my heart to all this wisdom, right? And I'm sharing with you. And brothers and sisters, I'm a sinner like you, nothing more, nothing less. Make dua for me. If any mistakes in here, it is because of this Jahil who's doing the presentation. Make dua for me, brothers and sisters. And if you find, anything which is important and is increase your iman, it is all coming from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ummah Amina, Ummah Khadija, Ummah Fatima, Maula Ali, Maula Hassan, Maula Hussein. Let's do a Fatiha for all of them. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.